Laredo, take us out.
Take her out.
All right. Every Friday night, join the fun and let's go OffWorld. Geek out with us live, where the nerdiness will thrive. Buckle up and let's go OffWorld. Toys, comics, pop culture news, movies, and so much more. Matthew, Jesse, Curtis, and Sean are your guides on this fun-filled tour. Blast off! Take flight each and every Friday night. Join the fun and let's go OffWorld. Let's go OffWorld. Let's go OffWorld. Hey, hey, hey. Let's go OffWorld tonight.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to OffWorld.
That was a banger. That
was thank you. So finally, to shut Curtis up, we did get a new theme song for OffWorld, and I worked diligently on creating an intro worthy of the amazing Jeremy DeWitt tune. And judging from all your faces that I just got to see as I played it for you guys for the first time, I'm hoping I came at least somewhat close.
Oh, it might be the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
That was pretty spectacular.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to vote that we play it again at the top of the next hour, just in case anybody joined late. Yeah,
this is not 4-ish horsemen o'clock.
Listen, I'm just saying, like, if people joined late and they didn't get to see that, they need to see it again.
For sure. We'll definitely hit it a little bit later as well. Let's go to chat here. Kevin Dufresne's here for now.
Wait a minute. Before that, on this intro,
yeah,
I know music, Jeremy DeWitt, amazing tune, earworm. Absolutely. What about the clips and stuff? Who did that? Did you do all that?
That was all me. Yes, I did the video
editing.
So it was actually what you saw was about 90% of what I envisioned.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And if anything, I had to cut a little bit because I had bigger dreams in my head, but simpler was better. And stuff just kind of lined up oddly nice. Like, I actually started editing, right? And I got the first couple clips there. So I got the Galaxy Quest and I got Silverhawks. And then I laid the audio in there. And, like, just where I put it, it was like blast off. And that's when it had the Silverhawk ship blasting up. And
yeah.
You know, there's a lot.
I loved how it kicked off when he hit the button first. And
right.
Then the Silverhawks, dude.
Yeah, it's just in those little cues. And then Colossus getting angry when he starts listing our names. Like, it all just kind of laid out pretty damn perfectly. So, yeah.
I will say something that I've never said in my life.
And
I'm impressed with you.
Oh,
I'm impressed with you.
Thank you, sir.
You did good.
I had to shut you up. You know, that's what it was all
did.
About, so.
You did, because that's the most amazing intro I've seen for any show.
But yeah, we'll definitely play it again. I think we ended up. Thank you guys, both of you, for joining us on Legends of Grayskull 100 Part 2 last Friday. And I think we played our new song 3 times,
which is another catchy one. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeremy DeWitt does great work. Now I just have to get a video for that one.
Okay. So now we've got people in the chat. So have at it. I had to get the credit out there for that.
We got Kevin here. We've got Let's Go OffWorld podcast is here. Anru, welcome. Joe, hey, what's up? And Billy Beige is in the chat. What's up, gentlemen? All right, let's roll call here. Who we got tonight?
I'm Jesse. I'm here, and I like short walks on long beaches.
Welcome, Jesse.
I'm Curtis. That's Jesse. And I don't like beaches. They're sandy and sand is coarse. So,
Welcome, Curtis. Thank you for joining us.
I'm Sean. That's Curtis. That's Jesse. And 4 or 5 times. 4 or 5 times to be heroic. Unfortunately, I've never even had 5 times, 4 times, 3 times, 2 times, or 1 time. But maybe one day that'll happen.
There you go.
And welcome, Sean, who actually made it before the show started. Thank you, sir.
Heroic.
I appreciate it.
There's my heroic moment.
That's one of your moments.
That's
That's
it.
one of them. One.
That's all we got.
All right, I'll count that as one.
And I'm Matthew Dooch. I push buttons and I make videos and very rarely impress Curtis.
The Dooch.
Oh. So what's up, boys?
That's the Dooch.
Ugh.
I'm confused by half of the things that were just said, and whatever Billy's talking about using his oven clock as his timekeeping piece.
Okay.
Well, you set that, Billy, so if it's off, that means...
Maybe he doesn't like watches like you, Jesse, so he just carries around an oven with him.
I mean, he's got a smartphone
Okay.
that automatically sets itself. He should be attuned to the alarms on YouTube to notify him that the show is starting.
Maybe he was in the wrong channel because some idiot like scheduled one for next week already, and people were confused. So.
Maybe.
Well, that is a good opportunity, though, to say, hey, make sure you're subscribed and ring that bell and select all notifications, because otherwise you won't get that notification that Jesse's talking about. So,
You were, Billy. You were cooking.
Curtis, where else can they find us?
They can find us on the Legendati Facebook group, where we have everything for our Legends verse guys, including shooting the shelf information. That we've got the Legends of Grayskull as well as OffWorld. So anything that's going on in those shows, any special guest or cool segments, you're going to hear about it there first. So definitely check out that Facebook group. And I will say, with Billy in the chat, Billy did an amazing promotion video for our Facebook group as well as our podcast, and we really appreciate that, Billy.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Although it is pronounced Legendati, not Legend Daddy. But if you want to call us your Legend Daddies, you can do that.
That's exactly
I would prefer
what
not
thinking.
to be called a Legend Daddy.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
You got to at least buy me dinner before you
Sean,
call me your Legend Daddy.
You're stealing that from the lair. That's their shtick. You can't do that.
No, I'm just off in the cuffing it.
Well, he's trying to get on the Legion's Con game show, is what he's doing.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
See,
You had to say it, and now people are saying it in the chat. Now it's becoming a thing.
Hello.
Legend Daddies.
See, I will not take that because I am only an uncle. I am not a daddy, so I will not accept that at all.
You have some
Who's your
little
daddy,
fucking
uncle,
children.
and what does he do?
Legend Daddy is a state of mind. It has nothing to do with offspring.
Not a
All right,
mindset.
fine. Instead of Schwarzenegger, who is your daddy and what does he do?
That's what I'm talking about.
Transform and daddy out.
I was gonna say, I think you were a little more optimist on the first one too. So,
I had to warm up. Sorry.
Yeah, we should get a Legend Daddy t-shirt. That would be awesome.
I was about to say,
Hey,
Who's your Legend Daddies?
Who's your legend?
where are my beaches at?
Okay.
I don't know. I think the Barbie trailer ruined beaches for me. So,
There's a Barbie trailer.
yeah,
I've seen.
It's pulled behind
about
the
the
Barbie
beach
car.
off part. Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
They say beach a lot.
All right.
Three. Joe, I like your style. 3 daddies and a Jesse. I'd watch that movie.
It's somewhere between 3 Men and a Little Lady and Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
Yeah, because depending on how tired Sean is, we might be carrying him around like a dead person, like propping him
I
up.
mean, I was the
Throughout
one
the
that had the
episode.
panic attack and meltdown at the end of Legion's Con and had to get carried out to my car in a wheelchair.
But we're glad you are all right now.
Man,
My
your
dogs
dog
are going
is
to drive me
not
nuts
happy.
tonight.
He doesn't like the intro.
Who doesn't like the intro?
No, it wound
The
them up
dog.
too much. That's the thing. It's like
he
when
was
you
so
come off of that
excited.
intro, what else are you supposed to do than go nuts? Because
I'm gonna say
you had a
I
bad week. That'll get you in a good mood. Let me tell you.
I know overall I'm pretty mediocre, but that intro I am very proud of, and I think that's fire. So screw you if you don't. Oh,
Next on the Duke's agenda,
let's go. I got nothing, so I'll start. All right, Jesse, on to you.
I don't have them to hand because I put them on shelves, but I got my Attila and Gorgo 2-pack from the E Collectibles folks at in Canada. I also got my Planetary Dogs order in. Oh crap! And I'm dropping pieces. Sorry, I didn't look at the agenda first, so I've got this water buffalo head.
Oh, nice.
Patent pending, Duke's agenda.
Trademark.
I'm not going to show off.
Ackerman Industries LLC.
The other stuff I got from them are for customs I'm not showing off publicly. So you'll just have to wait for
them
them
privately. No, not at all.
Should I slide?
I'm not
into
showing
your
you my
DMs?
privates, Curtis.
All right, I'm up.
Challenge accepted. Yes,
Yeah,
Curtis,
I guess I'm
you're up.
done.
I've got this amazing storm from
X-rays
Mayfex
continue.
that I love. Probably my favorite Mayfex so far. So really excited to have her. And I got this cool Marvel Legends Nightcrawler from Jesse.
Yeah, you did.
So
It's a great character right there.
he is really cool. Not normally a Marvel Legends guy. I don't typically like the proportions on him, but this one is fantastic. I love it. So that's it for me. I do have some other stuff that came in, but I have not opened yet.
Real quick, Joe says he got his Planetary Dog ordered too, and he's got secret customs planned as well.
You're actually
yeah,
misrepresenting that. He's saying he's waiting for his order.
He's also waiting for the order, like I said.
Yeah.
Ugh. Sean, what you got?
The shipping notice came in late last night, so it's not here this week, unfortunately. But I did partake in the in-stock sale last weekend, even though I shouldn't have, but I did anyway.
In-stock sale.
Yeah, so there was that, and I got an email from Mondo saying that the not the deluxe, but the regular edition of the classic He-Man is actually on its way to me as well, which should be here this weekend too. So
Sweet.
Cool.
all just waiting.
We got a request from Figuratively Speaking looking for a full frame of this storm.
Boom! There she is. All her lightning powers.
Yeah. She's
That
got
is my storm too. That's the first storm I remember seeing is the white outfit. Ugh.
Yeah, she's got 3 different heads. She's got several different hand options. You know, that one that has the multiple electric, the lightning coming out. And then there's 2 hands that have just like one stream of like one lightning bolt coming out each. So a few different options for displaying, but yep, very happy with that.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning?
Unfortunately, I do. So,
That's
stupidest
morbid.
line in just about any movie. Yeah.
These dogs can drive me crazy. I will say I am still waiting on an order that I placed on the 9th and got tracking for on the 16th. And I know I threw it out to you guys last night whether I do you mind? Whether I should say something to them or not. And I did anyways today, and while I did not get a response back from customer service, my package was finally actually put into a mail receptacle. So
That's not very sanitary.
You put your package in a mail receptacle?
I
That's
did
the
not.
glory.
They put my package in a mail receptacle.
Oh, wow.
So
Not a female receptacle.
It sounds like Jawas in the back.
we call that's Cooper. We call him the Gremlin because when they're play fighting, He
Oh, you got
does
Jesse.
those noises.
That's like Jawa.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yep. That's Cooper and Coco. There's no one else home, so they're down here with me, and they've been kenneled for a while, so they do not want to lay down.
So they, at this point, could have free reign of the whole house, but they choose right behind you.
No, I've got the basement door closed because otherwise
Oh, okay.
I'll have a mess to clean up because they are still puppies and they're still have accidents here and there. So, yeah. I'm not self-conscious, Billy. I'm tired of them ramming into my back. That's what that's about. Oh.
All right.
All right.
Next on the Dooch agenda, we have got forgotten toy lines that kick butt.
I don't remember this.
Yep.
That's because they're forgotten.
So I have got the slide set up, and I believe it starts with Jesse and then goes around. So it's Jesse, me, Sean, and then Dooch. So we will start off with Jesse's pick.
Oh yeah,
Number 3.
Oh, a classic.
yes. We had I don't think we had the tub, but we had a whole box full of these wooden blocks, and I loved these things. Sean probably even remembers some of these. I would use them to like add on to my Ninja Turtle sets and everything to try to make things. But yep. Play school wooden blocks, specifically play school wooden blocks.
Did you have the cart there as well?
I don't remember having the cart.
I don't remember.
Nice. I had forgotten all about these, but as soon as you had sent me this and I looked up the picture, I was like, okay, now, yeah, I definitely remember these. So, anybody else? Any thoughts on these?
I don't specifically remember those, but they definitely remind me of Lincoln Logs, and then of course we had the like fake bricks that you could build up like houses and stuff. But yeah, definitely a Jesse thing.
Sean's losing
like
it over the dog.
Tatooine Fight Club with Jawas behind me. Can't not hear it. It's hysterical. Anyway, no, like
these aren't educational.
I do remember those in your basement, and stuff. Yeah, so stuff like this would never appeal to me as a kid personally because it was always like I'm sure I played with stuff like that, but it just never did. But when you put your creativity into it, then all of a sudden I see, oh, this is why you did it. That's cool. You know, like you were always that guy, and that's why you're the customizer you are. So I see just wooden things, and you're seeing it as here's things to make a play set, and then I'm like, okay, you win. That works. So
cool. All right.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't have any of these anymore. One of my brothers might have one, but I don't have any left.
Yeah. Okay. Just real quick on the subject of like building to like play sets and stuff. Did anybody else use the old clamshell VHS tapes to like build walls and stuff?
No, they were too expensive.
Oh, you guys didn't have any? No.
Right. I did use the those like recyclable made out of recycled material cardboard trays for cups, like at McDonald's. Like when they I use those for like mounds that people would hide behind and stuff.
Yep. The pizzas used to come with the little plastic thing in the middle that would be a GI Joe table right there.
Of course.
Yeah. Good times.
All right. My number 3 is Batman Returns. Specifically, this line. The reason why I loved this so much was they had like one Batman sculpt that they did like with 50 different colors that they put out, and it was just seeing Batman in all these different colors, and instead of just the typical like what we had seen in the past, either gray and black or gray and blue, and so seeing all the different versions of it was really cool for me, and I think it started opening things in my brain that kind of led towards customizing as well. It was like, okay, you know, they take the same sculpt, but they paint it 50 different ways and come up with cool new looks. And so I've got several of these unopened in the garage. I've got a few here that I'll show in a second. This one is the Jungle Tracker Batman, which I have not gotten yet, but this is like one of my favorite ones that I want to get. So
I had the yellow one.
Yeah.
Did they really not release a Catwoman or Penguin? Like,
they did.
No,
They did. They did one Catwoman, one Penguin, one Robin. Which the Robin, interesting thing on the Robin,
is he
it
black?
has a really like strange look to it. And the reason it has a strange look is because they originally cast Marlon Wayans to play Robin, and then I guess they scrapped that idea. So then when they put the figure out, they like made it a Caucasian looking figure, and it just it kind of looks awkward. Like it doesn't look like you're not awkward, but it looks different from your normal Robin that you would expect.
They sculpted him to look like Marlon.
Yeah, because if you look at it,
white.
You can tell that the sculpt is supposed to be like Marlon Wayans. So
he actually still gets residual checks to this day for Batman Returns because they cut the whole part, and he still got paid for it, and he's still credited for it, and he gets residuals from it. Yes, the dogs.
Yeah, so they did one penguin, they did one penguin, one Catwoman, one Robin, a set of little penguins, like actual penguins that had like missiles and stuff on them, and then they did like 30 Batmans, and each one had like a different you know, like accessory gears and features and stuff. So let me take this down real quick, and if you want to embiggen me, I've got couple of these here. So here is this gold one. This is Arrow Strike Batman, which I always liked. This gold one was really cool. I do have a version of him that is loose. So and this one's got this wing set on the back of him. So you would have things like this that you pull that and the wings come out. Okay. So just little features like that they would have. So like all the figures were the exact same, you know, with the exception of the color, but then it would have like these different accessories. And then like this is an Arctic Batman. So
that's cool.
Like, you know, that would be like if he's going against Mr. Freeze, and it like I just really liked the different color schemes that they put together on these. And you could see, you know, it's got the typical cross-cell art on the back. So yeah. So
yeah, and the penguins straight out of Superpowers.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
He was just painted black suit.
Yep. Yeah, they did not change it up for the movie. So
didn't they have, now that I'm thinking about it, didn't they actually have like a 2-pack of penguins too with like missiles on them? Like actual I remember. It's coming back to me now.
It's got the penguin with the missiles, the penguins with the missiles, the regular penguin from Superpowers repainted, a Catwoman, Robin, and then all the Batmans. And then they did have one too that was really cool. That was and I don't know that I've seen this too much, but it's a Bruce Wayne that comes with a cowl that you could turn him into Batman.
I had that.
Yeah, that one was really cool too because I mean, the cowl was a little oversized because it had to fit over the head sculpt, but it was pretty cool. So
he had like armor that would like snap over his chest and his legs and his forearms and stuff.
Yeah. So Joe says, has anybody forgotten about Batman? No. Batman himself, no. This version of it with the 50 color variants is not one that I see people talk about a lot. I would say I see people talk about the Migos, the Superpower ones, you know, but this version for the Batman Returns specifically with all the color variants, I don't see too many people talk of. But for me, it just, like I said, it opened up a creative thing in my brain that was like, you can have the same sculpt with all these different colors and it still is cool. So
yeah, I had the one in the middle with the big bat wings and all that. That one for me was like, yeah, that's a must have because it was, you know, camouflage, but like night camouflaged with the, you know, the gray and the black. And I always thought that was really cool. So
yeah. So that was my number 3. And Sean.
Oh yeah.
We've got Army Ants.
Army Ants. This was one of those that I didn't even know they were out there until I met the Beardy over there. This was like within the first week or so of us getting to meet each other in third grade, he had them at recess. And then I'm like, what are these things? And then the next thing I know, I'm like bugging my mom that night. I'm like, can we go to Toys R Us, please? I got to find these things. And my mom just was like, oh my God, you're getting into another toy line and all this stuff. But yeah, like eventually I got a few and Jesse had a few, and we'd have them out at recess or whatever. When we got together, we would play with them too, if I remember right. And they were just fun. Mm-hmm. But if it wasn't for Jesse, I would have never known about this line. And this was like the beginning of our friendship, because this, and then probably like a month later, Ninja Turtles. Mm-hmm. And since nobody in the right mind will forget Ninja Turtles, this had to be said at least. So
I honestly, when I saw this from you and I looked these up, I had no recollection of these whatsoever. Like this, I don't even remember seeing these in stores. So this was completely new to me.
Yeah, like I said, I'd never seen them in any toy store. And I was going to the toy store a lot because I was still like 9-10 years old. And it like the thing about Jesse, one of the many things about Jesse is he will find things that I might not look at twice, and he'll find something in that to make me go, oh, you got something there, you know. And this is the beginning of me admitting that in our friendship, because like once I saw the ones he had, there was a specific one that had a glider on his back, a silver silver glider or a silver jetpack or whatever. And that was my must-have of those figures. I absolutely had to have him. He was like the Rocketeer kind of, you know, and it just really worked for me. But
it was orange one on the front row with the purple butt next to the one with the glow-in-the-dark butt.
No, okay, there. Because
it's two of them side by side, and one of them is his booty.
But yeah, this one, I mean, they didn't move. They were literally like Smurf figures where it was just this PVC. But I just thought they had a lot of character to them. They were really fun.
Cool. Was there like a cartoon property with this or something, or it was just okay?
Not that I'm aware of, at least. But I didn't get to watch many cartoons once we moved here because the station that would play cartoons only had certain ones, so I didn't get to see like Ninja Turtles. I wasn't into the Power Rangers because that was the same channel as the Ninja Turtles. I always got like He-Man was on. They had Centurions, Bionic 6, and things like that. So yeah, these were completely off the radar, and I don't know how many people actually even knew they existed. Like you said, Curtis, it's like, you know, completely undiscovered for some.
Well, Billy says they had a catchy song. I don't recall the commercials for them, but
I don't remember the commercials for them. But
okay.
And I'll say this, Kevin, these definitely came out before those Batman Return figures. So because these were out in what, like 87, 88 was when we met.
Yeah. So. And this was probably like a year. Like, I don't remember them being on the shelves into the 90s or anything. This was literally like you blinked and you missed it for this toy line.
And they're stupid expensive to buy now.
And
what they are.
Oh, they're expensive?
Yeah, I was going to try to get some during COVID on like eBay, and I was like, I am not paying that much for those.
Either you guys have any of these to show, or...
Unfortunately, any on my list I don't have anymore. So no, I don't have any to show off of anything that I'm listing.
Okay. I do have a couple, but I didn't know Sean was picking these, so I don't have it in hand.
Yeah,
that was the problem of the secretiveness of this. So,
gotcha. Okay, next is Dooch's third.
Yes, the Hot Wheels Attack Pack. These things were awesome. They were little cars, and then you like pushed a button on them, and they'd like have teeth or fangs or wings or something. It's just fun. It's the funness of a car, and then they transformed into monsters. And I remember specifically there was a bat one that I always wanted, and it's kind of the same thing. A mouth opens up and like the wings pop up, and just a lot of fun in that early 90s-ness, and I never hear anybody talk about these, though. and I've never acquired any as an adult, so I have none of them. But it's definitely
These are
one
like
that deserves more love.
These are like Nightmare Fuel mask figure vehicles in a way, because it's like it's a small little transformation, but it's just enough that it's a completely different thing in certain ways, just like Mask would do, and I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun.
These, I do recall seeing these, but they also remind me that Dooch isn't as old as some of us.
Correct.
So
and I think most of my picks are going to be that way. But I also did that on purpose because there are definitely some that I could have gotten from like early, back in the 80s. But I'm like, I think there's a higher chance of the rest of you guys picking them. So I definitely tried to pick some stuff from later in my childhood for that reason. And real quick, I do want to say hi to Duarte Studios and Thanos Copter. Have both jumped in. So welcome, guys.
And do you have one of these?
That's pronounced Duart.
Yeah,
that's what I
said. Do you have any of these to show?
No, I don't have any. Okay. I don't have any currently. I've never recollected any of these.
Okay. Next is the second pick for Jesse, which is Starcom.
There you go, Kevin. I knew you'd be waiting to, because he commented in a group chat that he hoped these would be on the list, and they are. I think I only had one of them. The figures were really small. They were like maybe an inch or two tall, minimal articulation. Looks like more articulation than I remember, but I might have had that one where it was just a little ship and the wings, you'd press a button and they'd like pop down or motorize down. And there's like magnets, like that blue plate and that gray plate on top of the ship were magnets, and the figures had magnets in their feet.
Oh, that's cool.
So they had some really cool things. Like there was like a whole like monorail system or something. Yeah, I think the bad guys had like purple or black ships, and it was just this cool little sci-fi line.
3 3/4, I assume.
No, I feel like they were smaller than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I want to say they were 1 to 2 inches tall.
Okay.
I was watching a toy, like one of the toy video guys on YouTube. And he was talking about forgotten toy lines from the 80s and stuff. And the one thing that he said about this that surprised me was apparently NASA was involved with helping them develop the toys, so that they'd have more of like a legit feel to what the space program was doing. I mean, obviously it's not dead on, but when I found that out, I'm like, damn, like you want to talk cred. It's like, hey, by the way, NASA helped develop these toys. It's not just like, hey, there's some guy that's in our basement that's just drawing this stuff up. That's pretty crazy.
Kevin says they were closer to like 2 inches. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know what Billy's talking about. John Candy and Great Outdoors. I mean, I know what he's talking about. I don't know what toys he's referencing.
Yeah. I don't think any of our picks would have been there.
What's on the back there? That like disc thing with the balls? Is that something that's magnetized as well, or do you not remember?
Probably. I don't remember that because this is already more than I remember. But now that I see it,
Kevin does say that they had knee bends, otherwise 5 points, maybe 7 points, and they had magnets in their feet. So I bet that on the back there is for them to like stand and like stay on the back, would be my guess.
Gotcha.
Well, that's what those brown plates are. The blue one in the middle there. I don't know what the little balls are on that barrel or something. They might have been magnets to like.
I'm doing the Jesse and I'm pointing at the things in the slide that nobody can see my arrow. So
yeah.
Nice.
All right. I'm guessing you didn't have the big giant base then, if you didn't have that many of these.
I think I had that one you just had up, the little ship, and that was it.
Gotcha.
Because I remember it had like a cargo thing.
Did you know anybody that had this huge monstrosity?
I don't think I knew anybody that had Starcom.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Gotcha.
I don't remember these at all. Like even in like secondhand or anything.
One of those things. I feel like it's one of those ones where like I don't remember there being a show or anything, so there was no property attached to it. It was just the toys, and it was like. I want to say it was coming out to like later 80s when these came out.
Joe's got some words for you, Jesse. How can you forget the disc balls? So Man,
I don't know. Maybe I didn't have. Maybe I got mine used and it didn't come with everything. I don't know. I don't remember those.
You're gonna have to explain yourself. You and Joe are gonna have to talk later. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Careful, Joe. He might boot you.
I am not touching my mouse. The arrow is on top of the bar. So.
JG says Starcom were crazy good. So yeah, this is another one that I didn't realize or recognize these. You know, I've heard people talk about them, but I don't have any recollection of these at all. But they are cool looking for sure. So
agreed.
All right, my number 2 pick is another one where the property itself is not forgotten, but this version of them I think is, and this is Thundercats from Kids Works. And these are little non-articulated, actually I think, no, not even their heads, so zero articulation, little tiny figures, basically the size of like a muscleman, that had, but they did have weapons. And this was my version of the Thundercats. Like, I didn't care for the big, clunky version of the Thundercats that we had as kids. They just felt like something about the plastic. I think it was like a texture thing that it was just too hard compared to like Masters, where the plastic was a little softer. And I just didn't like the way that they looked. But these I loved, and they were something that I tried to sneak to school with me, and I would lose the weapons, and but like they had like this cool Cat Slayer play set. So this was my version of the Thundercats.
That's cool.
I didn't even know these existed.
I've seen them around. That Cat Slayer in this size is a pretty desirable piece. I didn't know that as a kid, but I've definitely seen it around the internet. And we got the man himself here who says that he has a couple of those.
You know what that means?
Jeremy, just so you know, we had your intro earlier and killed it.
If you stay tuned, I don't want to interrupt the middle of our picks here, but if you stay tuned till after the picks, I think we have to play it again after we're done with it.
Absolutely. The two that I would try to sneak to school with me as a kid were, I'm sure Sean and Dooch, I'm sure had these, but the Motu erasers. I had those. I had those that I would try to sneak to school, and then these were the second ones. So
I like it. You just assume I don't know those.
Well, you might know the erasers, but I figured they probably had them, whereas I don't know if you had them.
I had tons of He-Man. I just haven't kept up with it as an adult.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, gotcha. He grew up.
So you used to be cooler, is what you're saying.
Yes, I was never cooler.
And then I do have some here if you want to embiggen me. And you're going to have to really embiggen me for these guys because they are tiny. So, like, this is Lion-O.
That's a terrible Sword of Omens. Just saying.
Yeah, this is Mumra.
Sexy dancer Mumra.
Yep. And then these two were my favorite. And like even the Super 7 line, I've got a Panthro and Monkey because they were always my favorite. I loved any kind of weapons like on chains. I don't know if that's gonna focus. There we go. Maybe.
Yeah,
but there's Panthro and then the Monkey. So yeah, any kind of weapons on chains were my thing. So these things, like you can see, I'll put this next to that Batman that I was showing, just so you kind of see the scale. Like that's, these things are tiny. Like I would say not even 2 inches tall. But like I said, that was my version of the Thundercats, and I loved it. So there you go. That's my number 2 pick. And next we got Sean.
Yeah, Star Yours. So I didn't do a huge amount of research into this. I remember I have like memories of having these figures. And in conjunction with it, Marvel Comics also was working with Tomy to put out a miniseries for them. So I had both the comic and the toys when I was a kid. And these are like some of the first legit pop and swap toys that I ever remembered having, where you could take off the arms, the legs, the heads, And if you had more than one of these figures, you could just swap them however you wanted to. And it was really freaking cool. I enjoyed it. And then they had the red T-Rex looking one on the right, like from the center over on the right. He would actually shoot discs out of his mouth, and it was remote controlled. And I had him, and I just loved letting him go all over the carpet in the living room and attack the figures, shooting those discs out and stuff. But I just thought it was cool for the fact that Marvel is known for being the ones who helped with G.I. Joe and with Transformers, but they also had their hands into other toy lines as well back in the 80s to try to jumpstart them. And this is one of those cases. And to this day, I still think the designs of the robots are really fun. I think they still hold up considering over the years. But yeah, just that whole pop and swap aspect, they actually were like, yeah, do it. Have some fun with this. See what you come up with. And, you know, from an early age, that had a little place on my toy shelf then in that way. And unfortunately, I don't have any of them in hand anymore. But, you know, the toy shelf of my mind, at least, that I remember having these and enjoying the hell out of them.
I don't think I remember these at all.
Yep.
I know the name, but that's it. Like,
this is another one that I had no recollection of. I mean, they look cool, and I like the idea that you can mix and match parts and that kind of thing. But it was one that I saw, and I was like, I mean, man, Sean really hit that Fogotten toy line, because I have no recollection of this whatsoever.
The other cool thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
Just what kind of scale are we talking? Like that blue and white guy there. What?
I'd say they were a little bigger than 3.5. I want to say maybe they were 4, maybe 5. They would be like a Masters of the Universe figure, maybe a 5.5 ish, if I remember it. Because that now, granted, this is me as a kid thinking of this versus having it in hand, but that T-Rex I was talking about probably was at least 8 or 10 inches tall if I can remember it properly. The other thing that was really cool about these, and I don't want to forget this, is each of them in their torso had a wind up function. So you just wind it up, and then like in one case there was one that had like a buzz saw that would just spin, and you could have them come up, grab one of the guys, and then and cut them up or whatever. The leader character had 2 big machine guns that would come out of his chest and stuff. So and another guy had a big drill bit that came out and stuff. So it's like there were other functions than just the pop and swap, which made it interesting to me too. It was a very versatile line in that way.
That's cool. All right, we'll go to Dooch's second pick.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Crash
I did
test
not think
dummies.
this would have been on anybody's list, but okay.
Dude, these things were awesome. I think I had a couple figures in one of the cars, but like my friend had a ton of these, and they were so much fun. And just that like you'd hit them and they would just explode into pieces. And actually, kind of like you said with Star Wars, Sean, you could actually take a lot of the different figures and kind of mix and match their parts too. And then the vehicles were the same way. Like the car would crash and like the bumper would come off and the windshield would go flying, and just like that action feature was just awesome. They were just, they had, and then they came out with pets and motorcycles and everything, but just that crash them and they just explode. Like especially going from like the PSA, buckle your seatbelt stuff. And now just like, but they are also really fun toys that you throw at a wall and they break into pieces. Like, and like Kevin said, they did have a short-lived cartoon. I don't remember the cartoon really. I just remember me and my buddy Brock playing with these toys, and they were just so much fun to just boom and gather all the pieces, put them together, and break them apart again.
Yeah,
and no one talks about them now.
I'd never had any of these, but I remember I wanted the car.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
I remember seeing that this was I think past the point of my toy collecting days as a kid, And I remember finding them humorous because of the commercials and the dummy stuff. But no, I never had these. But it is a cool concept for sure.
Absolutely.
Cool. Next, we've got the number 1 pick for Jesse.
Oh yeah.
And it's the Get Along Gang.
Yes, the Get Along Gang was one of my favorite cartoons as a little kid because it was talking animals, and they had a cool little clubhouse that was in a caboose. And yeah, I love these guys. I loved watching the show. I thought the toys were cool because, like, unlike Curtis, I do not have an aversion to soft goods. They all had like at least like the shirt or their sweatshirt or whatever was like actual like fabric material.
Yeah.
I think I only had the wolf and the moose, but yeah, I loved these as a kid. And yes, Jeremy, I almost picked Shirt Tails, but I thought this might be a little more off kilter than Shirt Tails. So.
Yeah, you still hear about Shirt Tails. I have no idea what these are. But looking at them, I'm like, yes, of course, this is Jesse's number 1 pick. Like,
yeah, that does scream Jesse. Yes. I remember seeing this moose, but that's the only thing out of this whole thing and I don't even remember anything about it. It just, when I saw it, I was like, oh, I remember seeing that thing, but had no idea what it was from or whatever. So.
They are wonderful sculpts. So looking at those figures, especially for the time, like the soft goods, the sculpts and everything like that, those are top-notch products right there.
And they had, and they were about Care Bear size. So like, maybe like three and a half inches maybe, but they're a little thicker. They weren't skinny like G.I. Joe or Star Wars or whatever. And they all had soft heads. So like they were like the early turtles with the squishy heads.
Absolutely.
The Fuzzmugs made more sense now.
Why do you really need to find reasons to why I like the Fuzzmugs? They're just so awesome.
You do. Yes, you do. And Joe says, I think Clubhouse Caboose means something different now.
Now, I've seen that movie. It was part 2 or part 3.
I have not.
Very nice. Well, this is my number 1, and it's Captain Power. And, like, I think this was ahead of its time. I think it was a very smart idea. I don't think it picked up or caught on as much as they would have liked it to. But it was such a great idea because this is in 87. So, Nintendo came out, like 84, 85. Kids are starting to transition from toys into video games. And this was a way to combine like a video game and a toy into one. So you had these ships. They had these figures that would go into the ships, and then you could use the ship, which came with a VHS tape, and you'd put the VHS tape in and watch the show. And on the show, you would have stuff like you see on the screen here. They've got a jet in front of you, and the back part of the jet would light up like red, and you would shoot that. Your ship would have a trigger on the bottom, and you would shoot at that red part on the screen. And if you hit it, you would start racking up points. And so you're basically watching this show. So it's like a cartoon and a video game and a toy all wrapped up into one. And I think the downfall of it was, it was on VHS, which was short-lived from that point on. But it's just such a cool concept. And I'm surprised that it wasn't more popular than what it was. But for me, I love this thing.
And one of the creators of Captain Power was Gary Goddard, who directed the 87 Masters of the Universe movie.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yep. So yeah, this is a cool one. I never had them, but I definitely knew of them. They looked awesome. They got a good feel. Like just ahead of its time. I mean, if this had been made, especially like more modern with smartphones and everything else, like that's what they were going for, is that kind of synergy that's like just in everything now. The toy, the video game, the movie, all of that. Like, we take that for granted now, but this was really cutting edge back then, and like you said, just a little too ahead of its time.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the intro and like part of an episode before this of Captain Power, and like this guy here, Tank, like he basically like in the show, he looks like a Mandalorian. Like he looks like you would see a Mandalorian now, and he's got this big kind of Gatling gun thing, and it's really cool looking. Like I said, I liked the combination of, we're coming out of, Masters and Thundercats and all those early ones that it's like really cartoon based. And now we're going into more the video game side. So it's like, how can we still tie kids into these toys through what they're doing on an everyday basis? And so it's like, we're going to combine a show with a toy with a video game and throw it all into one. And like I said, I just love this thing.
Yeah, I had the figures as a kid, and the thing that I thought was cool is they ended up. This was on that channel that would play the cartoons that I could get in, and they had a giveaway when the show was about to air.
Yeah, and
I ended up winning. I was one of the winners. I forget what level I was in it, but basically they had this play set where it was I don't remember the names of much off the show anymore, but they had to go into a room where they'd say power on, and then they would touch these sensors, and then they would get their armor and stuff. So the thing that I won was they did a play set of that where you had just the background of it, and you put the Captain Power figure in it, turn it on, and it would just make this annoying noise that my mother would be like, "Oh, got its fingernails on a chalkboard, shut it off." But it was one of the very first things I ever won in any kind of a sweepstakes. So I love this thing.
It's interesting you say that, Sean.
Oh my God, you have
because I believe you're talking about this right here.
It is the
Power On set. Energizer. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's
and
wonderful naming.
This had a trigger on the back of it as well. So if you did not have one of the ships, you could actually use this in the video game portion of it and shoot it at the screen to rack up your points and do the things that you needed to do. So,
and I was very confused by that because I was waiting for the figure to pop off of it or something if I lost, and he never did. So I just kept aiming it, and like 30 minutes into the show, my mom's like, "Oh my God, I have a migraine. Shut it off." But
do you want to embiggen me there?
I got you.
You just kind of.
Hey, let me stroke that there.
So there's that, and then I've got the actual Captain Power here loose,
and they were pretty cool figures actually. Like the villains in that, they were CGI in the very early CGI stuff. Like I think the one was actually called Sauron or something. The pterodactyl looking guy.
Yeah,
and he was one of my favorite figures as a kid, just because he looked freaking menacing out of them.
And I don't know if you can see it, but like there's the hole. There's a hole in the back of his armor, and then the front is translucent. Mm-hmm. And so when you would put him in here, that would light up and it would shine through, that thing on his chest, and you would actually see the light come through. So when you would use this on the game, you would actually be firing the laser through the character onto the screen. So
the other thing real quick that I wanted to point out is the show was live action, and that would be on like once a week or whatever. But that image that Curtis had with the ship, and then you see the TV screen, that was a video they had on VHS, and I had that as a kid. And the best part is they had live action moments to bookend it, but the entire video otherwise was all anime.
Yeah.
And it was like some of the coolest anime. Like that was one of those, like Voltron was the beginning of me at least appreciating it when I was a kid. And then this was like next level kind of stuff, because it was literally like in your face coming at you on the screen. And you literally were like, I'm trying to shoot everything possible. It really was like a video game, but as a cartoon.
It was kind of like if you remember the Super Mario, where they would have Lou Albano, and they would do the live action stuff and then go into the cartoon and then come back and have the live action again. And it was similar to that. Like you would have, these actors doing the live action part, go into the video game part, come back and do more of the live action and kind of go from there. So yes, metal pins.
Yep.
For the joint.
I vaguely remember this ship and being able to shoot the thing, but I never had it. I don't remember the show. I don't remember the toys, but I remember the ship being like the blaster. That's all I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was also like the Terminator vibe to it too, because the whole premise of the show was it was like humanity's last stand.
Yep.
And Captain Power was like one of the rallying people trying to protect humanity with his soldiers of the future and all that. So if you had one of those ships and you loved that show for that limited amount of time it was on, you literally were like, I'm protecting humanity. It made you feel like you had, I'm going to say it, you had the power to help Captain Power at least.
Yeah, it was, the bad guy was Lord Dread.
Lord Dread,
who was kind of like a cybernetic guy, like he was half human, half robot. And then all of the bad guys were all robots. And then, so yeah, it was very much a Terminator kind of humans versus robots kind of vibe. So
I think Curtis needs to open up that power on Energizer now to show it off how it works.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Cat.
All right, now to Sean's number one pick,
Crystar.
Okay.
Yeah, like again, this was another situation, and I think this might be the first one that I remembered. Again, it was a collaboration with Marvel Comics, and they had the storyline built up of the Crystal Warriors, and I forget the name of their planet, but basically it was like, okay, the good guys were Crystal, the bad guys were Magma characters. And for me, at least in that era, it fit into that whole sweet spot I had of fantasy figures where I was collecting Masters of the Universe. I was collecting the Black Star figures, and Remco had their figures and stuff too that were more like He-Man knockoff looking figures, like the Arak and Warlord and stuff. And these kind of fit that sweet spot. It's a little more like, I was always more into like the He-Man type warrior versus here's this crystal guy or whatever, but the looks of these were so different, and the translucent thing was really fun.
Translucency.
Yeah, this is one of the lines that got me on board. This and the Tron toys that Tomy put out. Those, when I was a kid, those I could just stare at those for hours because of the painted detail on them and the detail in the sculpts that they did. Same with these, because each one had different features when it came to their crystals, and you could like hold them up and get different designs that would come through when you had daylight hitting it or whatever, which was really cool.
What other kind of light is there during the day, fat kid? Sorry.
Fluorescent.
The whole point, though, is it was cool to at least see the prism effects of it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember the mythology of the story or any of that. Same with Star Ears, unfortunately. But I enjoyed that they were distinct looking figures on the shelves. When you would look in the toy stores, they would really, pop out. And I do like, if you can go to the other slide really quick, they had this right there in the middle. There was this dwarf guy who was half crystal, half magma. And when I was a kid, for some reason, that one was like, that's crazy. He's like good and bad mixed together. That's just, wow. Like it was interesting in that way, just mind blowing kind of stuff.
Yeah, I remember having the blue guy here, which
Crystar.
Yeah, I remember having him, and I did not have any of the other ones, but I do remember, like you were saying, just like staring at it and like holding it up to different light sources and seeing the light come through. I had two translucent figures when I was a kid that I recall. It's this one, and then there was the Iceman from the Marvel line that was totally clear. So yeah, I knew nothing about this property or the story or any of that. I think I just got it because I thought he looked super cool, and I only got one figure in the line, and that was him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they kind of had that vibe of like the guy that was next to him, and I don't remember their names besides Crystar, and I think the bad guy was Magma or something like that. Very simplistic naming, like He-Man kind of stuff. But I mean, they had their wizards. So you had the good wizard with the purple and the white beard, and then the bad wizard who had a flat head, which always was like, how did that work when I was a kid? And then again, the Marvel did the tie-ins, and they had like Nightcrawler showed up in their comic, and apparently when I was looking into this the other night, apparently they still represent some segment on one of the Marvel multiverse realities.
Really?
So they're not throwing them out the window. They like, I saw a new looking artistic version of Crystar that I'm like, I did not know that they kept these guys on this long, because it's been almost 40 years, probably 40 years at this point since that line has been out.
Crystar is in Wave 5, confirmed right here, folks. MCU.
So, yeah, I guess
He's in the MCU.
And the other thing that was cool too is they had dragons. They had Crystal Dragon and a Magma Dragon.
Oh, I didn't see those.
Stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah. They like they had they had figures that could actually like straddle them properly if you wanted to do that, or you'd have to like bend the legs and stuff. But the articulation on these were fine to do that. But like as a kid, I had this freaking blue crystal dragon with this, like, it almost looked like the Mortal Kombat logo for the head of it and all that. As a kid, it was like between that and Battle Cat and the dragon that Black Star had. It was just a fun time for like the steeds and the different beasts in these lines to give you all these crazy creatures on your shelf.
Nice. All right. Well, last and probably least,
Yay!
His number one pick, King Arthur and the Knights of Justice.
And he didn't even pick a toy pick.
There he did.
Yeah. These guys, well, number one, the cartoon was awesome. Stupid 90s concept, but basically, so King Arthur and his knights get captured by Morgan Le Fay, and so Merlin pulls a college football team from the 90s back into the past.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, to sub in so that the people don't know that King Arthur, like, and they're supposed to be descendants, right? All the descendants wind up on this football team. So, but he pulls them back, and they're filling in for King Arthur and his knights against the evil forces of Morgan Le Fay. And it was kind of one of those, like, I'd seen, Sword in the Stone and stuff, but like this was my first like real dive into kind of deeper Merlin King Arthur stuff. And it's a fun show, fun toys. It's made by Mattel, chunky Masters S boys. They all had action features. They had even planned to reuse the slime pit from He-Man and re-release it as a bad guy play set in this line. It made it onto the box art, but it never actually got released. So it was just kind of one of those, it's just kind of that perfect storm of like, it's now early 90s, He-Man's done, but these kind of fit in that same kind of feel and everything. And
Joe's asking if the football team was called the Knights.
I think they were actually. That if not, they should have been. But I think that sounds right. Like it was totally that tongue in cheekness. But it was fun. And like I said, I wanted all these figures. They all looked amazing. I assume none of you guys remember this at all.
No,
I have no recollection of it. It sounds interesting because I was reading kind of a little bit about the TV show, and it sounded interesting. But no, I don't recall these at all. I did see that they reused for one of their toys. They reused the slime pit from Masters of the Universe.
They were going to toys. It never actually got released, even though it made it on the box.
It was just spaced out.
Yeah,
Matt just gave like a 5-minute dissertation on that.
Yeah, I saw it on the cross sale art. So I'm sorry, I was reading the comments.
You're good.
Okay.
You want Jeremy threw out a pick a while ago. His pick is skateboard smack ups. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Never heard of it.
So
let's see if we can find this. Skateboard smack ups.
Skateboard smack ups is what he said. I don't even know. Knowing him, I don't even know if this could be something we don't want to see. Okay. Yeah, they look like little PVC figures of people and things riding skateboards.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're probably the same scale as your Thundercats, Curtis, but they're all on skateboards, and there's I think a dog there or something. I can't even tell on these pictures. Maybe they are all people, but yeah. Carrie Cardor, Amy Asphalt, Betty Bumpers, Rich Stitch.
It's like Garbage Pail Kids.
Garbage Pail Kids with skateboards.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's totally Jeremy.
Ronnie Roadkill. This is a total Jeremy DeWitt line right here.
Yeah.
This is a junk man toy line.
Hey now.
That is junk man written all. There's no hey now about it. This is junk man written all over it. It's cool though. Wally Wallbanger. That's funny.
Good times.
That's pretty cool.
Rich Stitched is a mummy. That's why I couldn't tell what it was. He's holding his head.
I've never seen these before, but that's pretty awesome.
And Joe throws out DC Warlord, the best Motu ripoff there was. I will agree with him. Now, out of the knockoffs, Warlord was definitely the coolest. Although I think he was a full comic and everything. The toys definitely went in the Motu vein, but he'd been around.
The thing about those, DC was, I think that DC was doing that in conjunction with them because they had a Iraq too, and a Hercules, and whatever the M1 there. But yeah, they did all those, and then the next thing you know, boom, here they are on the toy shelves.
Yep.
So
Hercules
I had all of those.
Unbound.
Yep.
That one's got a little yellow to it. I don't know.
Yep.
A little yellow.
And they even had a Conan in that line.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
It was horrible.
No, it did not. If I would have seen that figure, I would have said it's a barbarian, but there's no way it's Conan because he didn't even have black hair. He had brown hair. He was wearing a lion pelt around him, but he was called Conan.
Makes perfect
Interesting.
sense.
That's what.
Sounds
I bought him.
Wonder Bread He-Man.
Yeah, don't even start. Kevin
Any other
says,
toy lines?
Trash Bag Kids, Air Raiders, and Visionaries since Starcom was done. Air Raiders sounds familiar.
I loved Air Raiders. I almost picked them, but I really wanted to go with the wooden blocks. Air Raiders were really cool. I do have one of those.
All right. Trash Bag.
They were, again.
Is it Trash Bag Bunch?
Those got to be them, yeah. So basically Garbage Pail Kids, but trash.
Okay.
Air Raiders. They had that goofy theme, Air Raiders, something like that. Something generic-y. I don't know. It's tickling something in the back of my brain.
Air Raiders. Is this what we're talking about?
The Raiders of Air. They lived in a world where there wasn't air and they had to raid it.
No,
Is there air? You don't know.
You don't know.
They had
I don't believe that nobody jumped on that. That's crazy.
I set it up for you.
They had little bungee cord things, and they would have zip lines, so you could they had a clamp, so you could hook it on one part of the room.
Yeah.
And, clamp.
Gotcha.
It was plastic clamp that you put in, and they would zip around you.
I think I had some of those.
And they had ships and vehicles. You would pull the string, and the one guy would his chair would shoot up the string like an elevator and stuff. And
yeah, I definitely had some of those. That's kind
of
cool.
it was in the same era when like they did Air Raiders and then they had Sky Commanders or something.
Maybe that's what I'm
Oh,
thinking.
maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
And that's the one. Like I remember there was like a lot of zip lining in that toy line, and I
That's
got
what I'm
like
thinking of.
one
I'm sorry.
those.
There's so much zip lining going on.
Yeah, I mean it's like Trapjaw really started a trend. I mean, geez, the amount of zip lining that happened at the end of the '80s compared to the beginning.
Late 80s were extreme. We ziplined everywhere.
Any other ones?
Yeah, that's all the chat's got there. So thanks,
Visionaries,
guys.
which I think we all remember Visionaries, but
Centurions were really cool too.
JG mentioned, I don't think the hosts remember the actual number one forgotten toy.
Yeah, but
although he did miss some of our picks, so I'm curious what he's thinking is the number one forgotten toy. If he wants to throw in on
maybe
that.
he forgot.
Yeah, he might have forgotten.
Everybody forgot.
Number one.
it's the pet rock.
Crossbows and catapults. Here we
that
go.
was a board game, wasn't it?
That was a board game.
Yeah, I remember that.
I never had
that.
these, but I wanted these guys so bad.
Centurions were pretty darn sweet.
Yeah.
I had the good guys, but I didn't. I think I had the red bad guy.
You talk about pop and swapping. This was it. This was
yes. It was pop and swapping for the weapons at least, but like with Starriers, you could pop and swap their heads and their arms. But these guys, they were just solid figures, but they were really, really cool solid figures.
Yeah. And then what was it? Crossbows and
catapults.
Yeah, I do remember that. And it was cool. It was kind of a toy function to it. Oh, that's for sale. We don't need that.
Yep. Oh, I wanted that game so bad. I never had it, but I definitely wanted it.
Yeah, that was
awesome.
Cool. You had the little pieces, your blue and red guys, and then
your army, your different weapons,
and then have to knock them down with that stuff. Yeah, that's cool.
Good times.
Here's one where it's set up.
Toys when you could shoot stuff at your friends and not get
you had to knock down the other
reported to the police.
Yep. I love shooting my friends.
Beautiful.
All
right. Well, I think it's time to listen to the intro again.
Let's show it for all of you that missed it earlier. Here is our new intro.
Laredo, take us out.
Take her out.
Every Friday night, join the fun and let's go OffWorld. Geek out with us live, where the nerdiness will thrive. Buckle up and let's go OffWorld. Toys, comics, pop culture news, movies, and so much more. Matthew, Jesse, Curtis, and Sean are your guides on this fun-filled tour. Take flight each and every Friday night. Join the fun and let's go OffWorld. Let's go OffWorld. Let's go OffWorld. Hey, hey, hey. Let's go OffWorld tonight.
Never gets tired.
It does.
About 50 times today as I finalized it.
I could definitely watch that on a 10-hour loop.
I want to start a bar fight right now. That's how energized I get listening to that. It's nuts.
Now that brings me back to a comment that Billy Beige threw out earlier. And Curtis, you are not a fan of Ocarina of Time?
Off of who?
Legend of Zelda?
I've never played a Zelda game that's not the little handheld one that they used to sell. You know, the little whatever those are called.
Yeah,
so I've never
Tiger
played an
Electronics.
actual Zelda game.
If you only play one, I have to say Ocarina of Time is the one, and it's available now on if you have a Nintendo Switch. It's on their Switch Online. So
Yeah, I don't think that I will.
You should. It's amazing.
Give you the cap line. I don't think that I will.
I never finished it, but I loved Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I've finished it many times, and I'm actually about to start it again on the Switch because I got the 64 controller. I think I showed it off on the show here. So
I mean, an orc arena sounds cool. It's an arena with orcs in it.
Yeah. Just start playing. It's towards the end of the game you get to the orc arena, but it's worth it.
Gotcha.
Once you get there.
Okay.
He says, it's so good.
Is it time to unveil our new wheel?
Are we there?
Yeah, it says.
Let's do it
this week in theaters.
You also like how I created the agenda, Jesse named it the Dude Agenda, and then we basically just let Curtis do everything with it since then.
Curtis LLC.
I'm just happy to be
LLC.
here.
LLC. Okay, so we've got Curtis's new segment here. Curtis goes to the movies. That's what I remembered it being called when I.
No, it's called This Week in Theaters, but okay.
Yeah, that one too.
I have the old Siskel and Ebert theme song going through my head now for some reason.
So, as you guys know, we debuted this last time. So, this is where we go back to this week. So, May 26th in theaters, but in a year in the past. We decided rather than just picking a year ourselves, we're going to let the fates decide. So, Jesse, do you have a trusty D20 with you?
Yes, I do.
All right, Jesse's going to roll the D20. Whatever number he gets is how many seconds we put on the wheel. That encompasses the years from 1980 up until 2000. And then Curtis will take us to that year this week in theaters.
And we'll look at the top 10 and see what we'd watch.
All right.
Hit it,
Here's
Jesse.
the dice roll. That is a 12.
12. So let me go down. And we're going to put 12 seconds on the spin.
Plus 3 for your proficiency bonus.
Oh, plus 3. We're going to apply.
Dooch has no proficiency.
Hey, video editing, you said it. Can't take it back.
That's true.
All right, 12 seconds. Let's see what we got.
Memorial Day flash sale.
Say 45%. And stay American.
I can't tell where the pin is.
Oh,
It's on the side there, 86.
1986.
Okay, so let me
I
share
was
my screen.
1 year old.
Okay, so let's roll this thing back to 1986, and then we will select this week. So May 26th would have fallen right here, and we're going to scroll down to the top 10. All right, so we've got Cobra, obviously Stallone, very nice. Poltergeist 2, Top Gun, Short Circuit, Sweet Liberty, JoJo Dancer, Your Life is Calling, Police Academy 3, Back in Training, Pretty in Pink, Gung Ho, and Hannah and Her Sisters.
God, this was a horrible week for movies.
I disagree. I see
Sweet Liberty sound familiar? Oh, Alan Alda.
I see some real gold in there.
At some point. Okay, Sweet Liberty was Alan Alda, Michael Caine, and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Okay.
I'm trying.
You're just saying names at this point.
I am. Dr. Michael Burgess teaches history at a college in Sayville, North Carolina. Yeah, he's got to attend to his mother and navigate a relationship. Yeah.
God, that sounds horribly boring.
I think I've seen it though.
All right, Dooch, we'll start with you. What would you see? We're gonna work our way down.
Well, I've never seen Cobra to this day. I haven't seen any of the Poltergeist. Top Gun is okay. For me, it probably comes between Short Circuit and Pretty in Pink. And so I might as well just go with Short Circuit. Johnny 5, good movie. Yeah, Short Circuit. But
Okay.
yeah, not for me personally, not the best week we could have had here. This is
All
I'm
right.
going to the movies just because I want to do something. There's no big poll.
Sounds good. Jesse?
This was a very emotional summer for me. I was coming home from first grade, and my family was splitting up. So
No,
that said,
I was
yeah,
just cleaning my pants.
my mom, we left my dad when I came home from first grade. Like the day I walked home from school. Anyway, so it was a fun summer because I didn't know what was going on because I was 6 and stupid. I gotta say, I've only seen 4 of these movies, and my favorite one on that list is Short Circuit. So I'm rolling with Johnny 5, no disassemble.
What are the other 3, just out of curiosity?
Top Gun, Police Academy 3, Back in Training. I have no memory of it, but I know I saw it. And Gung Ho.
Oh, so you've never seen Cobra either, huh? Interesting.
Nope. Or Pretty in Pink.
I have seen several of these movies. And I would say for me, I would probably go. It's between Cobra and Top Gun. I think I'm going to go Top Gun just because if I'm going back and I'm going to watch a movie in the theaters, I want to see something that is cooler to see on the theaters than on TV. And to me, that's Top Gun. Just, kind of being immersed in everything going on. So, Sean?
Sorry for bringing the chat down, everybody.
This is real life.
So as it, like, if I went back in time, that's how we're doing this, right? We're going back in time to watch a movie in the theater, right? The one that I'd probably pick out of this would be Gung Ho because that's Michael Keaton, and Michael Keaton's just Michael Keaton. Like, I love that guy. He's still, career's going strong even to this day, obviously. Like Top Gun was one that I really wanted to see really bad when I was a kid, and my dad made me turn it off at one point because he just thought it was ridiculous. And then I saw it years later with my wife, and I ended up laughing through the entire movie. I was like, everything about this is just corny as hell, and it's like that volleyball scene. I'm like, oh my god, like no. But Gung Ho out of everything would just be, I don't know, like that's the only one that really has my attention. Short Circuit, was that the one where they beat the shit out of the robot, or was that the second one?
That's 2.
All right, so I could probably handle that one if I wanted to, but when they beat the hell out of them, that for me when I was a kid, I was like, I don't want to watch this. This is horrible. It made me sad. So again, yes, we're bringing down the show. But the other ones I don't have much owning to. I wasn't a big Police Academy viewer even as a kid, and Pretty in Pink. It's the same as Princess Bride. If you told me that's the name of the movie, I'm like, I'm not going to see it. So it's like, no, Pretty in Pink. You can be pretty all you want. You do it over there. I'm good. So yeah, Gung Ho would probably be it.
Yeah, I had forgotten about Gung Ho. I just looked it up, and that's a pretty good choice. I still think I would go with Top Gun, but let's see what was past 10. Oh, no, there's nothing. There was just those 10 at the theaters that week. So
I think it's interesting that Top Gun, it looks like this is at least, I don't know how many weeks Top Gun has been out at this point.
At least 2.
It was its 3rd week.
Second week.
No, second week.
No, second week.
Wow, it got unseated that fast.
Well, it was Stallone.
But Poltergeist 2?
Because this is the movie that made Tom Cruise. Like, I mean, he was in stuff before this, obviously, but like,
I'd say Risky Business was that though. This was like the cementing it for him. But Risky Business was
Risky
like
Business was his...
it's a Tom Cruise. That's who that guy is.
Yeah,
like.
But after this, everybody knew who Tom Cruise was.
Well, there was that, and also that soundtrack. You couldn't escape it between Danger Zone and Take My Breath Away, and I can't think if there's any other ones right off the top of my head from that movie, but like Danger Zone and Take My Breath Away, I remember those being on the radio a hell of a lot versus anything like Cobra originally was going to have The Touch in it, and they didn't do it. And then it got transferred to another movie from 1986 that is very near and dear to me.
Yes.
But,
I think it's interesting though that
it's
Short
no step
Circuit.
up
I think it's interesting that Short Circuit in its third week jumped almost 17% in sales.
Yeah.
It does have 300 more theaters or 50 more theaters than Top Gun, but that's interesting to me that Short Circuit.
You also got to look
jumped
on
that
there.
much.
It's the only like all family thing. Like, you know, like mom doesn't want
True.
to take the young kids to see Cobra or, you know, Poltergeist. That's a horror movie. So even Top Gun like that, you know, Short Circuit is the most family friendly on there.
Well,
You know,
there was also a tie-in with Top Gun that like something about like theaters that played it, they had to agree to allow the Navy to recruit outside of the theater. I don't know if that played a part in how many theaters it was in.
Yeah, but that could definitely be possible.
But it's interesting though, because like the biggest movie on this list today is Top Gun.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Maybe Police Academy 3, but you know, a lot of people like that third one. That third installment was really, you know, they had that one.
Didn't we have a Police Academy on this last time too?
Yeah.
Like, is there just always going to be?
Yeah, there's going to be one. Well, and look at it. This was its 10th week in the theaters. Like, it just lingers. There's always a Police Academy. So.
From 1980 to 2000, there's always going to be a police.
They hit 3 and they go, you know what? We need to make at least like another 5-6 of these. Like this is.
Hey Gutenberg, you got anything going on? No. Okay, come on. We got this.
All
Who
right.
cares about Cocoon? We got this.
Well, that was this week in theaters.
That was a week in theaters, absolutely.
Next on the Dude's agenda, we've got The Princess Bride.
The Princess.
We all went back and watched this week, and I like the. I think it was Sean or maybe it was Dooch. One of you guys talked about a few weeks ago, like going back and watching a movie as an adult and then comparing it to what you remember from being a kid. So as we watched it again this week, anything that stuck out to you that felt different about it, or is it still hit the same way? What are your thoughts? Start with Dooch.
For me, it was. I've watched this movie so frequently that it's kind of hard to do like a then and now. Because since my first time watching it, I mean, it's been regular viewing. And it's actually one that I thought about even just a couple months back, that it's one of these movies that I've got to introduce my kids to. They're definitely getting to the age where they're going to appreciate and understand it. And I did not see it till later on. I was in high school before I saw it for the first time. And I actually ended up reading the book first, the book is all sorts of fun as well in a very different way, as only a book could do. But it's definitely a lot of fun. And then I watched the movie and fell in love with it. And you know, it's one of the few perfect movies out there. And while I've appreciated more jokes over the years and everything, like I can't really say that my views changed on it because I feel like I've kept up with it this whole time.
Okay, Jesse.
We taped this off of Disney Channel when I was a kid, or some channel, and it got messed up. So I didn't see the full first 30 minutes of the movie, I think, until I was in college, maybe. So the whole thing, like I saw a little bit of Grandpa coming to meet with the kid, and then it jumped to like when Vicini's yelling at them on the boat.
Okay.
So like the whole setup of like the As You Wish and all that stuff, none of that made any sense to me. Like it didn't track like till I finally got to see it. But I think it's funny. Like it's funny because I remember when I watched this as a kid, obviously it was funny, but it still felt like somewhat serious.
Oh, for sure.
As a 8, 9, 10-year-old, however it was when I saw it. but like, just I'm trying to think what I would have noticed is just some of the more subtle jokes, like the more like, you know, when she's asking him to reach for the jug that's literally like right next to her face, you know, just like some of those little things just hit better. But I've watched it so many times that it's pretty much all ingrained in my brain at this point. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I watched it all the time, so I didn't notice a lot different just from viewing it myself. I consider this to be the only perfect movie. Like, this is the only movie that I think that there's no lull, it's got action, it's got drama, it's got romance, it's got, you know, everything, comedy. And I think it's just perfectly done. I don't think that there's any way that you can make this movie better. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't at times enjoy other movies more than this, but I do think this is a perfect movie. And so I don't notice a lot of things different other than something that Sean said. He said something that hit me when he was talking about, like, when he first heard of this movie, and just the title of the movie, and how there was some reluctance because it's called The Princess Bride and it sounds like a girly flick. And you know, he said something about, like, when the grandpa is talking to the kid at the beginning of the movie, it's like he's talking to us, like, you know, hey, we understand it's called The Princess Bride, but bear with us because it's going to have this and that and the other, and just stick with us and trust me, you're going to like it. And that's exactly what it is. And so I've never, like, picked up on that he's really talking to us more than he is Fred Savage. And I liked that part of it. Also, as an adult, the one thing I did notice that I probably didn't notice as a kid or pick up on is all the different toys in the background that.
Oh, I picked up on that first viewing.
Like, yeah, the Master of the Universe, there's a Captain America, there's, yeah. So that was kind of cool to see all that stuff. But yeah, I just nothing majorly different that I could see other than, you know, what I just mentioned. So, Sean?
So I know on the show, one of the episodes I was talking about the way storytelling is done recently, like in Thor: Love and Thunder. And a lot of people didn't like that movie, and part of it was, in my opinion, that's being told through Korg being the narrator, and how some of those things paid off in weird ways and not like the characters we knew from other movies. And I feel like it didn't land for people. This is the perfect way of showing how that works. And this is the perfect way of showing how to land those things, because even like the way the grandfather's telling the story and interrupting the story. Hey, you look nervous, you know, like she didn't die, you know, and all that, you know. It's like, what? Well, you look scared. I just want to let you know. You know, I love how they do those things, and there is this heightened feeling of the movie. It's very heightened in the way that it's acted, in the way that it's done. But it leads to it being as endearing as it is, because, like, I don't know if anybody of the new generation will have these kind of moments where your dad or your mom wants to sit there and read a story to you like this. Because when I was a kid, my mom would read me stories every night before I'd fall asleep. So this movie reflected my childhood in that way. And it's something I treasure, just that here's this movie where this grandfather does this, which I absolutely love. And the other thing, too, is the conciseness of the storytelling blew my mind when I watched it the other day, because there are things in the beginning that pay off later in the movie in such really, really cool ways that if you really are just watching the movie, you never for 1 second guess why that works the way it does. It just does. But if you think of it from a storytelling perspective, it's like, but that is so freaking cool that they paid it off the way they did. Like the one that I pointed out to my wife was, I still love the fact that when Wesley has to go up against Inigo and Fezzik, that he knocks them out. He does things to incapacitate them and moves forward. So then that makes them look upon him in a different way and a respected way. So when he needs their help, they come to his aid. And I'm like, it gives me chills just thinking about that, because that's just, I love that so much in that movie. It's the honor of these men, even though they might not feel honor. They're not honorable at times with what they have to do, but there's an honor in these characters that's hidden, and it's awesome.
Oh, for sure.
One thing I did pick up on this viewing was in that sword fight between Inigo and Wesley, and which is an amazing sword fight. And
Yes.
Before that, Inigo talks about how basically he's studied fencing for the last 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And Wesley beats him, who has only been sword fighting for at max 5 years, because that's how long he's been away on the Dread Pirate Roberts ship. But he's somehow able to best him. And to me, at first I was like, well, that's not very long compared to Inigo doing this for 30 years. But he also was training under Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yep.
So, it could be one of those where Inigo, it was 30 years, but it was 30 years of him teaching himself, where this guy is kind of an understudy to one of the most feared pirates in the land. So just kind of, just the amount of training that he got in that condensed 5-year period to be able to do the things that he's able to do is kind of interesting.
One point I want to say to that I think helps maybe a little bit with Wesley being who he is when Vicini's talking to him and berating them on the boat, he flat out says to him, "I found you as a drunk." So the idea, he already does that in the movie later on when all of it goes to hell and he's just sitting there. "You told me to go back to the beginning. Well, I'm here," and all that. And it's like he's somebody that he's got enough demons going on that he self-medicates. So he might have been training all that time, but he also is doing that in that time as well.
He's not 100% committed. Yeah,
exactly. And I'm sure Wesley is a whole different deal because he had in his head, he had the Eye of the Tiger deal of, I got to get back to Buttercup. Yep. He had that in his mind the whole time. So he probably better than other people because he had the finish line in his head through all of it.
Agreed.
Any frustration with Buttercup and the fact that she does move on before she finds out that
she doesn't really. She's emotionally she has
not
not
in love with the prince, but
right. She's forced into this marriage, which her true love's dead. So like, all right, like it's easier to just go along with it than to fight it, know, because there's no hope anyways, because Wesley was killed by the Dread Pirate Roberts. Like,
gotcha. I mean, I don't hate her. It's not like she's Jenny from Forrest Gump or anything, but just part of me goes, maybe you could have held out hope a little bit. I don't know, but
she didn't have a choice though.
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
Either that or kill herself, and then you're doing a Romeo and Juliet.
That was her whole plan.
There's a shortage of perfect breasts, so
that was her whole plan. She was going to kill herself on her wedding night,
right?
Because Wesley was gone. Yeah.
Once she gotten the hope back and lost it again,
Because remember, she says to the king, she's like, "Oh, when I go back to my room, I'm going to kill myself," and he's like, "Oh, that's nice to hear." Yeah, he's just so.
That's
I do have.
I'm talking about before she even knows that Wesley's still alive. I'm talking about early on, like when he introduced her to the people.
Why isn't she
trying to escape? Why isn't she like running?
That's her plan.
She's riding the horse through the forest. She's not trying to escape. She's not trying to get away from him. She's just kind of going for a stroll in the forest.
We're gonna put your lord personality in check here for a second. Back then, she didn't have a choice. She was property. Women in those stories were cattle. They were not allowed to do stuff like that. So it probably was not in her mindset to, I can run away.
Okay.
Well,
and
on top of that,
2 points of clarity. He only trained for 20 years. And this is technically a Christmas movie if people want to argue that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
What?
Is that what he said? 20 years? I thought he said 30 years.
I watched it last night. He said 20 years. He might have. I know he definitely said 20 years. I've been searching for the man for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think there was a line when they were explaining the whole thing about her about to get married to Humperdinck, that it was flat out like he chose who he wanted, and that's how it worked. It was never like she went with it because she's like, oh, I found true love again. No, he took one look at her and he's like, I want this, therefore you'll be my bride.
Yep.
And like Jesse's saying, and I think what Matt's also saying, she was literally like property to him that he could just have because she was single, and she. So, and I mean, that's as far as the story goes, but you could also think maybe she did it because her parents needed, I mean, look where they lived. They weren't exactly rolling in the dough. So, it's maybe there was like a thing of, okay, if he marries her, then her parents end up lucky financially out of it as well. I don't know, but that's putting things that aren't in enough that
they own a servant, right?
Well, sure, but I mean, if you look at the scenes where they're together, it's like they don't really have a lot anyway. Yeah. If you think about it,
the king wants, the king gets, prince, whatever. Like that's it.
Okay, so let me come at this from a different angle, and mind you, I love the movie. I'm not trying to criticize, but I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Somebody that, like they say in the beginning of the movie, she enjoyed torturing Wesley, right? She enjoyed torturing him.
Yep.
And then she falls in love with him and starts a relationship with somebody that is basically her servant.
Right.
Nothing in that. Like if the roles are reversed, okay, and let's say it's a guy that's torturing a female servent, and
you have that kind of stuff all the time.
I'm just saying, would you feel the same? Would you feel that she's still a good person?
That's the old adage, right? Like, he used to pull my pigtails on the playground because turns out he did it because he liked me. Like, that's so. The other way is like so ingrained in our minds. It's the boys will be boys type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just not convinced that she's the best person in the movie. Like, I feel like there's a lot of characters in this movie with good, like really good hearts at their core. And I don't know that she's at the top of that list. I don't think she's a bad person, but I don't necessarily think she's the best person.
Well, I think everybody here is kind of flawed. They're written very well, and the fact that they all feel like real people, and that carries flaws with it. I mean, imagine what Wesley did in the time we didn't get to see. I mean, he's convincing people he's the Dread Pirate Roberts. Yeah. That means he's done stuff that the Dread Pirate Roberts would do, and the Dread Pirate Roberts does not get a reputation where it's referred to as the Dread Pirate Roberts without doing some nasty stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean he surely had to kill some people, and yeah.
Oh, rape, pillage, plunder, all of it. Yeah. Ego, all of them. Like they're not. It's not the shining examples of good and evil here. You know?
I got you.
The thing about her that I'd say is she grew up in a very insular way. So her doing that kind of stuff to him, I almost feel like it showed that maybe socially she wasn't as mature compared to, because everyone else in the movie that you run into is more of a worldly character. They've been out somewhere and have accomplished something. She is one of the few where I feel like she was raised on that farm. She stayed on that farm until Humperdinck saw her, and then boom, next thing you know, now she's finally getting to live life, even though it's not on her terms. And so the others have a way of understanding some of this stuff versus, like, I still get a kick out of that scene when they get out of the fire swamp and like Humperdinck's there talking about, hand her over to me, death first. And him and Wesley are going to go head to head, and all of a sudden, will he survive? Will you save him? And they both go, what was that? Like they're completely lost. The best way I heard it described was in this one movie podcast I listened to, where it's like, here are the car salesman and the father or the husband going into this car deal, and there's the wife or the girlfriend or the daughter or whatever, and they're like, okay, knock a couple thousand off of it for this and that, and all of a sudden she's like, if you throw in the car freshener, I'll take it right now. It's like, what are you doing? You're messing up with this, because she doesn't understand that. She's looking at it from like such a different level than everybody else in the movie.
Another part of the movie that I really love from the grandpa aspect is when the kid gets riled up and he's like, well, who kills Humperdinck at the end? He's like, well, nobody does. And like, he tells him the end of the movie, like we're midway through the movie at this point, and he tells him at the end, like he doesn't get killed at the end. And so you're like, well, this sucks. What do you mean he doesn't get killed at the end? But I love the fact that he didn't just tell him, well, you'll see, or whatever. Like, he actually tells him, like, he's not going to get it at the end.
There's two things in this movie I love, and it's that one line about life is pain. Anyone that says otherwise is selling you something. And granted, that is a very harsh outlook on life, but with what he had to go through to get to where he is, I could see why he'd say it. And I could see why he has that venomous way of saying it to her, because it's like, I did this to get to you, even though she doesn't know it's him yet, And I like that, but I also liked how when the grandfather is rationalizing with Fred Savage having that outburst, like, well, who kills Humperdinck? Nobody, And I love that, it's not fair. And it's like, who said life was fair? Like, I love that kind of thing about this movie.
Yep.
You get certain payoffs, but other things they're not needed in the realm of what the story needs to tell. So Humperdinck surviving actually is kind of fun, because it's like, yeah, he's still going to do his thing, but the whole thing of what they wanted to do, they accomplish it at the end, even with that little dangling plot point.
Another quote in there for me, the line that really gets me is at the end when Inigo says, like, he's been in the revenge business for so long, he doesn't know what to do with the rest of his life. And it's like he's built his entire life around this one aspect. And now he doesn't know what to do with himself. And I think it's very interesting, just thinking about that.
That's what I'm saying. All these characters are just written so realistically in a fantasy setting. And going back to, Peter Falk as the grandpa, just amazing. And just the whole routine, it's like, he's done this with Fred Savage's father or mother. This is a tradition, maybe even his parent did it with him, he's got his book, he's rehearsed, he's ready, and he knows how to catch him into it. And, that's just, it's just so great every time you pull away from the action of the actual story, which is amazing. But all of those scenes in the real world are equally just as gripping, because we've all been there, bored, homesick, and everything. And I would have loved a grandpa like Peter Falk to come and read me this story, and it just would have been awesome.
How great is the whole segment with Miracle Max?
Billy
Crystal,
hold on.
So good. Yeah.
Before we get into that, I got to backtrack a little here, because I'm gonna play devil's advocate to Curtis's devil's advocate.
Oh, okay.
Wesley's no saint either.
Well, yeah, we said.
And
that.
No. I'm not talking about what he would have had to done to convince people he was the Dread Pirate Roberts, because all that needs is he has to perform a certain way in front of the crew enough that stories get back to shore to let people know he's still doing his thing, right? So it's more the reputation than his actual acts. It's built on all the ones that come before him, right?
Okay.
So my guess is he goes to shore to find Buttercup. I have not read the book, so I don't know if this is in there or not. But it seems like for 5 years, how do you go from being a prisoner to the captain of the ship in 5 years? Seems to me like he would have the first chance he got, he goes back to her as soon as he's in command. So,
well, he said he took over after a couple years. So it's not like he was he wasn't locked up for 5 years.
Right.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
but he's locked up for a while, and then he trains and becomes, and then he's like, I'm gonna anyway. But he is a complete dick to her until
he thinks that she moved on and forgot about him.
Right. So it's both.
That does not give him any right to reach back like he's going to deck her across the face.
He wasn't going to. That's just him playing.
He let
a
her.
role.
But we don't.
Exactly.
We and she didn't know that.
I know that.
No, you did not. You did not.
I know.
Yeah. Like she didn't know that. Doesn't matter if you know that. She didn't know it. She was afraid he was going to kill her. She was angry. She thought he was the guy that killed her love.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He's toying with her that whole time.
He's testing her.
Yeah. He's testing her. And testing a relationship is bullshit.
Not when when the person that you love went on to marry somebody else.
No.
And that's why they're perfect for each other.
He was dead. Back in that time, it wasn't like if you got captured by the pirates
to be dead.
If his ship got attacked by Dread Pirate Robert, she knew it got attacked by the pirate, and doesn't leave survivors.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
what did he tell her before she left? Before he left, what did he tell her?
What does every horny teenage boy say to the girl
what
they
did
love?
He tell her before he left. He
I'll
said,
come back to you.
Love can't stop us. It won't stop me.
Okay.
I will come back to you. No matter what, I will come back to you.
Did every promise you made to a teenage girl when you were a teenager come true?
I'm not Wesley. He's awesome.
I think Joe summed up here. Yeah, relationships are hard. But I agree, Jesse. And that's why they're perfect for each other. So,
I'm not saying he's a perfect guy.
He does.
I'm not saying he's a perfect guy, but I at least understand him more than I do her.
No, I'm not saying he's perfect. I said they're perfect for each other.
Right.
Because
I was responding to Jesse.
They've got the similar, she tortured him as a farmhand. He came back as Dread Pirate Roberts, and he definitely had his jabs at her, his messing with her.
I think if he comes back and she's just on that ranch and she's single and everything, I don't think any of that occurs. I think he's only doing that because he's jaded.
The minute he took over that ship.
That I'll give you.
But he didn't, because he's still trying to become someone that he thinks that will deserve her and not realize that he already is.
And the other thing is he left to go make his fortune or whatever.
That's what I'm saying.
Take care of her.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really are in love with somebody, you take that person with you and you go do it together. So
you don't take women on ships back then.
I'm not saying that he had to go on a ship. There's other ways to make a living. If you're really in love with somebody, you don't just go and leave them. You find a way to
but it's that thing. He felt he had to be better than
it's the chivalry thing of that era. And I mean, even when I was a teenager, it was that feeling of, okay, I'm dating this girl. I think she's it. How am I going to support this girl? You put that all on yourself, but maybe in reality you didn't need to do that. But in your own head, that is how you view, this is how I'm earning her love or her respect.
And Wesley wasn't a horny teenager. I don't think he got horny. That's not.
Oh my Lord, Curtis.
That's not something. Yeah,
no,
he just didn't have
almost.
Okay,
maybe not every.
There.
Most teenage boys alive have been horny teenage boys.
Not Wesley. He's a good guy.
How
doesn't matter.
He had that that bedroom stare down to a T. He literally
didn't know what she was doing.
Fix that.
You guys are ruining this movie for me.
Looking in the mirror, what way is
you're reading into
want to take that dress off as fast as possible?
How have we not talked about the amazing Wallace Shawn yet? That's what I want to know.
The what?
You can almost say it's inconceivable that we haven't talked about him yet.
I do not think you know what that word means. He's I think out of the three, trials, battles up there, the Battle of the Wits has always been my favorite. Number one, Wallace Shawn is just a great actor.
I didn't know who the hell you were talking about.
Yes, he played Vizzini. But yeah, I always love that, and just their dialogue, the back and forth, the quipping,
He's got a staggering intellect, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's funny because just recently I saw a thing on the Facebooks. But I just took it at Wesley's word, he's like, "Oh, I built up an immunity to the poison." you know.
Mhm.
But there was a thing online that I saw that actually explains it even better than that, and they posited the theory that it's actually odorless, but it's only deadly when inhaled. And so when he had him smell it, you smell that? No, what is it? You know,
Oh.
that's when the poison actually entered Vizzini, and then it just stalling him until it takes effect, and it's actually harmless once it's in liquid. So
I like that.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, that's actually brilliant. Like, so Wesley had already won before it really even started. Like, and that's how he ended up beating him. And
But that's not what he says.
huh?
That's not what he says. He says that he put it in both cups and he built up an immunity. You're changing the movie. I don't like that.
That's what he said. But again, he's
like that.
buying time, waiting for it to. And then after he's dead, what's the point of explaining it properly?
Yeah, I could buy that completely. Actually,
I don't like that.
Okay.
I don't like that. I'll tell you why I don't like that. Because then that means that he killed Vizzini. Whereas the other way, the way that we see in the movie, Vizzini killed himself. He's the one that switched the cups. He's the one that went and drank.
Don't have a problem with him killing Vizzini. Because
I
he was actively trying to start a war.
Okay.
But he put it in both cups. So with Vizzini switching the cup, either way, Wesley killed him. Your way or my way. Either way, Wesley killed him because he put it in both cups.
He didn't make him drink, though.
I think we need to take the movie at face value and not read into it.
I mean, Fezzik and Inigo were both trying to kill him as well. Why didn't he kill them, but he killed Vizzini?
Well, he flat out said, you know, like with Inigo, he said, I'd rather break a stained glass window than kill you.
Right.
And it's like I honestly looked at that and even the stuff with Fezzik as he looks at them as you could be useful. You could do something if you weren't under this guy's thumb and working for him. Therefore, it makes sense.
They have redeemable qualities, but
you have and in both fights, they both prove they're honorable men to him before he even did anything. Because with Inigo, he promises on his father's life that, you know, I will let you come up here and I will not hurt you, and
he lets him rest
talk and they bond even. And then with Fezzik, it was, you know, he could have killed him from the first throw of that boulder, and he's like, I'd rather we do it as men, you know. And it's like
as God intended,
as God intended, exactly. And I love how he looks at that and he's like, well, then I'm not going to kill these guys because they are looking at it from an honor perspective. And Vizzini, he's there holding the knife to Buttercup and all that stuff. It's like, you only can go so far with a man who's already putting a knife to the woman that you love's throat before you're like, okay, I got to take him out, because obviously he's going to take her out.
And Vizzini's the one who knows he's starting a war. The other two are the hired goons. Like, you know, yes, they're doing wrong things, but they're, you know, they're doing it to survive or for the money or whatever. Like, and Wesley sees that. Vizzini's,
but he doesn't kill Humperdinck at the end. Like, they leave
because he's mostly dead still.
Yeah.
I think he would have if he had the ability to.
No, because at that point, Inigo's in the room. Inigo could easily kill him, but they leave him to still run that kingdom. Like, by the time they leave, when they run off, Humperdinck is still in charge of that kingdom.
Yeah.
And if you guys are saying that, like, you know, well, she has no choice and she has to blah, blah, blah. Well, he's still in charge of the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, honestly, the good guys aren't in the greatest of shape when they leave anyway, because Wesley just had 50 years of his life taken off of him from that machine. And Inigo just got cut how many times at the beginning of that duel?
Yeah.
So my guess, it's like, okay, we only have X amount of time before Inigo probably bleeds to death here.
Yep.
And Wesley's still being, you know, mostly dead still, like Matt's saying. So it's like, we got to cut our losses and we just got to get the hell out of here. And my guess is the next thing they do is get on those horses and they go back to Miracle Max and they're like, oh, for the love of God, help us again. We have problems.
No, they
and
gotta get
see what happens, and who knows, maybe there's another day they go back and take out Humperdinck for that reason. Then,
is there a moment in that movie that gets you like fired up more than Inigo's fight when he's trying to avenge his father?
Oh no, that is
like
one other moment.
Okay,
it's not as it's a different type of fired up when Wesley delivers the whole, "I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to do this to you, do this, but I'm going to the pain, and I'm going to leave your ears so you can hear every child screaming, 'What is that horrible thing?'" Like that is just the look on his face.
He's laying there with no ability, and he just does that slow stand up and raise the sword. Totally bluffs him, but that's a good part too.
Like that is, it's on par on a slightly different energy for me.
But that part in that sword fight where it looks like, Inigo's done. Like he gets, he gets the 2 stabs in the shoulders and the 1 in the gut, and he's just done. And then all of a sudden he just starts fighting back, and he says his line, and then he fights back some more and says his line. And it just, and then the end, when he tells him that he would give him, all that he has and more. And then he delivers that line that he wants his father back. It's like, oh God. Like,
that's the storytelling that I was talking about this movie that I absolutely love. I love that we get to meet him as a dishonorable man when we first meet. He's literally one of the bad guys kidnapping Buttercup. But then when you have that talk between him and Wesley, when Wesley gets to the top of the cliff, and he gets to tell him that whole story, you do an about face on that character. Even if you didn't, because there's moments even on the boat that night where there's these moments you can tell he's not really into it the same way Vicini is. But you get that whole speech, that whole story about him and his father. And as I still to this day remember the first time watching it going, that's a great story. And I didn't realize it was going to pay off at the end of this movie the same way. Like you got that whole arc in this movie, and like it's freaking beautiful to see that. Like here's this guy, he didn't get killed. He was looked at as honorable. He kept going. His skills were completely useful in this situation. And I still love when the 6-Finger Man gets away. He's like banging on the help me now. He's like so like distraught. He's like getting away and all that. But the thing about it that puts it into even more context is Mandy Patinkin has been in interviews saying when they did that scene, he was visualizing the 6-fingered man as the cancer that took his father's life the year before he filmed the movie. So when you think of it on even that level, you'll get chills watching that scene again, because they say Christopher Guest was scared to death to film that scene because he was going full out on him in that scene.
Yeah. And
you can just see the way it's like he's driven. And it's such a great, and
you were mentioning the
son of a bitch. I love that.
You mentioned the talk at the top of the cliff between Wesley and Inigo. And I like how he picked up on, he's listening to the story, like very intently listening. And then after the fire swamp, when he sees Count Rugen and he goes, "You got 6 fingers on your head."
Yeah.
Like just matter of factly, like some, and then you just bonk.
I love it. I know somebody looking for you.
That's so great.
Good stuff.
I think it was you that told me about that, Sean, or maybe it was on here a while ago about the whole thing with Mandy Patinkin, how it was the whole thing about his dad dying of cancer, and in that scene, like Christopher Guest was terrified because he was he was fighting the cancer that killed his father in that scene, not Christopher Guest.
Yeah,
and that was crazy cool to hear. I mean, not, you know what I mean. But I like that, and like the whole thing with not killing Humperdinck, I just think that was if that was a family friendly movie, killing the guy when he had been defeated at the end would have been overkill. Like that would have been a Schwarzenegger or Stallone movie right there.
I mean,
that's not what the heart of the story
revenge
was.
killing from with Count Rugen. So it's not like they're above,
But that's not Wesley.
murdering
That was,
somebody.
That was his whole thing. And then at the end, he's like, "I've done it." He's like, "Now, like my life is pointless now."
Yeah.
Like he's, that was the first time. Again, I was a little kid when I saw that. So, but it made me think about stuff in a way. I was like, oh yeah, revenge. If you spend your whole life, and to me, is at the time, those characters were all like ancient in my mind because they were all grown up. So anybody that was an adult was way up there.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, oh, he spent his whole life doing this. Yeah. What is he going to, if that's all you focus on is revenge, what are you going to do? So I'm glad they've never done a sequel, but I'd be interested where those characters went in their journeys afterwards.
And it's not just revenge. I'm not going to get too far into this because I know we're going to have a show where we kind of talk about Ted Lasso, but we kind of saw in this past week's episode, without giving anything away, somebody that was basically built their life around a certain aspect of something somebody else was doing, and then you get to a point where that's no longer enough to motivate you or keep you going, and then it's like, where do you go from there? Like, there's if you don't have good intentions or good motivations or whatever, then you get to it might get you to a certain level, but at some point that's not going to be there anymore, and you're going to have to find another reason to live, another reason to keep going. And,
just real quick, I mean, when I was a kid watching this movie, I thought that hello, my name is Inigo Montoya moment was just going to be one. It would have just been, he says that's all he has to say to this man, runs him through and walks away. When you see the scene play out, I love how, he's been run through already, and he doesn't even really get to say it the way that you're like, okay, he's got to have that second win. He's got to get up again. And when he gets up, it's almost like that's his fighting breath to fight this man finally. And then what I love about that even more, because like I said, he just keeps saying it over. I love that it taunts him, and I love that it turns into something where it makes, I'm sure the Six-Fingered Man's blood runs cold, because I love that. Why don't you die? And all that. And I love it. He just keeps saying it, and there's no rationalizing with him. I'm going to kill you. We're done. When I'm done saying this, you will close your eyes and you're no more. And it was almost like it reminded me of just like the Terminator or something. And when I was watching it as a kid, going like, I'm actually afraid for him now, because I didn't realize it was going to go to this. It's so intense in that way. But
I remember being upset as a kid because like they come to that, like he sees him for the first time in that hallway, and Rugen he tells the other guards, like, kill those two, leave the third for questioning. And like, Inigo just dispatches them super quick.
Yeah.
And then he says this line, and you're like, oh crap, this is where it goes down.
This is it.
And then he turns and runs, and you're like, no, you can't turn and run. Like he just said the line, you're supposed to fight.
I love that. I absolutely love that happened.
And then when he comes around the corner and he gets like, he gets the, stabbed and everything, then it's like, oh, like this is not going to get his revenge. And so then for him to fight back from the brink of being dead to win that fight that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now, what about Mad Max or Miracle Max?
Miracle Max.
Thoughts? I think Billy Crystal was amazing in that role.
Oh, it's a great scene.
Yeah,
totally.
I can't think of her name now. Who played his wife?
Carol Kane.
Thank you.
And
I'm not a witch. I'm your wife. I don't want to be that.
Backwards.
Right, like he's got his own like demons and self-doubt and everything going on, so he doesn't really. He's trying to find a way to not do the miracle.
Yep.
And it's
a great character. I still remember the first time watching just his performance, and it, well, let's see. Let's see what he wants. True love. Oh, he said to blave, which we
all know means to bluff.
Yeah,
to bluff. That's
the my finger.
You must be playing cards.
Liar!
I'm not a witch. I'm your wife.
And then Inigo gives him that whole speech about like
Yeah,
the children.
why about like the
starvation.
no the real when he gives him the real story about like,
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like, oh man, Inigo's such a good character. Like
You should have
I
said the
like
first one.
Wesley, but yeah, it's just
and
it's so
just
good.
the line, like, because there's so many memorable lines that, like, I don't know about you guys, but I quote this movie all the time. But the have fun storming the castle, like, come
I
on,
say that
that's
all
just,
the time.
Yeah.
Every day that my wife used to leave for work when she was a hotel manager, I would always say that to her, and she would laugh her ass off because she's like, "Yeah, this is a pointless exercise and futility." But yeah, I absolutely that's one of my favorite lines in the whole movie, just because I can always think of Miracle Max. So. A nice mutton, lettuce, and tomato with the mutton's lean.
You think they'll succeed? Not a chance.
Not a chance. Bye.
And then the one more scene that I want to talk about too, the bridge scene where he's Wesley's just coming out of being dead, and he can barely move, and they're trying to give him the lowdown of what's going on, and Fezzik just keeps pointing out the different things, and he's not having it.
You move your finger. That should make you. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Doesn't that make you happy?
What are our assets?
Yeah. If we only had a Holocaust group? Miracle Max gave it to me.
Yeah. Why wasn't that on our list of assets?
I still love the there's a line that is wrong in the movie, and they kept it in because I like when Miracle Max says to him about I'm gonna call the Brute Squad, and then Fezzik's like, I'm on the Brute Squad. He's like, you are the Brute Squad.
You're right. Like he's the whole Brute Squad in one.
Yeah, I loved it because apparently
everybody
he was supposed to say I'm on the Brute Squad, but he said or no, he did say I'm on, but he's like, no, you are the Brute Squad.
Good stuff. All right. Any other thoughts, guys?
I love that moment with the Holocaust cloak too, because I love how Fezzik's out there. I love them when they light him on fire, and he's like, "The Dread Pirate Roberts is here for your soul." When he hits that part, I don't know why, it makes me laugh every time, and I know he's trying to make it sound as menacing as possible, but it just sounds so funny when you know the character who's saying it in the movie.
Yeah,
it's like he looks scary, but he's one of the most helpful characters in the entire movie.
Mowedge.
I do have to say this: Humperdinck, like, he's not marrying Princess Buttercup because he wants to marry her.
No.
Yeah.
He's purchasing himself an asset because the whole premise is, he's going to have those guys kill her, make it look like Gilder did this.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He just wants her to be the wife so he can kill her.
Correct.
So he cares nothing for her. So like,
Correct.
He's only putting on the airs for the people, and it's like the people who are close to him know that he's up to no good. And I don't know where I was going with that, but it's like the whole question of love, like, there's no love. The only love story in the movie is between Buttercup and Wesley.
Absolutely.
And it's just and it's just perceived circumstances and assumptions made that can parallel to modern stories, modern day stuff that I think is good there more than the fantasy setting of it all. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense.
Agreed.
One last question for you guys. Do you think the way that they leave that? So, like, they know that Humperdinck's an asshole. They know that he tried to start this war and stuff, but the people don't know that. Like, his citizens, the people of the town or whatever don't know that. So they leave him in charge. They don't know that he's done anything wrong. So he could basically just keep on ruling the way that he was.
Yep.
Do you think he has any sort of change of heart? Do you think he has a moment after all this has gone down to where he realizes that he was an asshole and that he needs to do things differently, or you think he just keeps being who he is?
He's going to go find another woman and kill her and start the war.
I don't know if he has a change of heart, but I think he's afraid for the rest of his life.
Well, the thing for me is I love how this story is such a small little idea within what his overall plan is, that I do think he probably lays low for a little bit, and then like probably a couple months later he finds another girl who's going to be his bride and all that stuff and tries to do it again. And I like how their story in this movie does not really matter in the scheme of his plan.
Right.
It's a whole different thing, and he doesn't understand that at all because that's not a part of his plan.
Right.
So, in one way or the other, they talk about him being a tactician. So even if this didn't work, I have a feeling he's probably got plan B, C, D, and whatever written down somewhere, or he's going to talk shop with the six-finger man, which obviously he won't be able to after the movie's done, but he doesn't know that yet. So
I love the whole when he's following the different fights that Wesley had with Inigo and Fezzik.
Yeah, the forensics.
He's like retracing the steps, and he's just very, because he knows that they kidnapped this girl to try to kill her, and but he's like iocane powder. I bet my life on it.
Yeah,
like just so like just full of himself, and just like he's so brilliant. Yeah.
Chris Sarandon, I in the last 10 years of my life, I only realized how awesome he is. And I mean, he's also the voice of Jack Skellington, but another movie that I think he's absolutely amazing in is Fright Night. So if you've never seen Fright Night, you got to see it, because like Humperdinck is one thing. He's like a killer in Fright Night because he's the vampire, and it's great the way they set that whole thing up. And the man is like 80s sexy to the nines in that movie. He wears a sweater where the neckline is here, and he still manages to seduce the woman in the club and all that. I'm like, Chris Sarandon, man, that guy's just got it. He just Princess Buttercup with his oh, there you go, dude.
I have one last question for you guys.
Sure.
This is definitely one of those movies that gets tossed around, it seems, every year as ripe for a remake. Do you need a remake of The Princess Bride ever?
No.
Nope.
That's a hard pass for me.
Correct answers, everybody. Absolutely.
No.
Never remake this movie. Just keep replaying this movie. There is nothing you can improve on as to what's already been presented.
The thing that made me wish I wish they could have done a sequel in that time period. I would have loved to see the further adventures of Inigo and Fezzik going out there and doing something as the Dread Pirate Roberts. And that's all you would have needed, is the two of them, because they are great characters in and of themselves. But I would not ever want to see this remade, and I wouldn't want to see a sequel if they couldn't have done it with Andre the Giant being involved, because he was the heart of the movie at points.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the book hints at a sequel, so I'll just leave it at that. I don't think it ever came out.
I wouldn't know. I don't read.
You really should once in a while.
Although I do have a learning Braille book coming. It should be here tomorrow, and I'm going to.
That's for a different reason.
I'm so uncomfortable about that.
I'm going to try to learn to read with my lips. So
I believe in the power of your lips, Curtis.
If I can learn to read with my lips, I will be like the most avid reader around.
I will let you read all over me if you read with me.
Close. All right. With that, next topic is Have You Ever?
Have you ever?
We are going back to the one that Sean proposed to us last week, which was Clue the movie, which we had all seen, but we agreed to see it again and kind of talk about it. So, Sean, you want to lead us off?
Sure. So the movie came out in the mid 80s, and I think it came out in the same year as Back to the Future. So you get double doses of Christopher Lloyd that year, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, based on the board game Clue, and directed by Jonathan Lynn, if I remember right, and
Landis.
No, he was an
Oh, and
a
Jonathan Lynn.
producer.
Sorry.
And he helped write the story as well. John Landis did have a part in that, but Lynn was the one that actually did the directing. And it stars Tim Curry in one of his favorite roles, apparently, and Madeline Kahn and Martin Mull. And it's just, for me, this is one of those movies that if it's late at night and I just want to put something on that it's entertaining, but I don't need to sit there and be, bogged down in something. This is my go-to for some reason. It's got the mystery. It's got there's thrilling moments and the whole old school kind of feel of the movie, because I really like that vibe. And the cast and the comedy, every time I still laugh at this movie. One of my favorite moments is the Madeline Kahn with her. I hated her so much. Flames on the side of my face. Like, she can't even articulate any more than that. And the rest of the crew is like, what is she talking about? And to this day, it still makes me laugh, no matter how many times I've seen it.
It's, and I know we'll talk about the different endings. And I think that's the important part for me, because if it was just like you go through the movie and then you find out who the killer is at the end, then it would ruin it for future watches. But because there's the different endings, it makes it like it makes it a cool movie to rewatch over and over again, because you've got, you're trying to watch it and knowing that it could end different ways. And this is my favorite Tim Curry role. I think that he's just amazing in this. I love the reenactment part.
Yeah.
Like, when he starts reenacting it, and then he smacks her in the face, and then they go into the kitchen, and he falls out of the thing. And it's like just the whole reenactment part is really funny. So.
I love that with Mr. Green. Would you stop that? No. And he just, the amount, Tim Curry, he has the drollness. He even has that threatening vibe sometimes in the movie, depending what scene it is. But then when you get to the end of that, where he goes, I know who did it, and he has to lead him through everything. It's like, I just want to hug him when that whole scene is over, because he puts so much into that. And it's like, if you weren't invested by that point, granted, that's at the end of the movie. If you weren't invested by then, and you see that, you're just like, this is amazing.
The part where he's like, and then we came in the room, and then the lights went out.
Yeah.
then they turn on the lights, and he's just laying there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
And this is one the Clue was my favorite board game growing up.
Same here.
Every chance I could get some people together and play Clue. I love the board game, and so for all, they really kept it to the feel of the board game. They leaned into. They kept the weapons. They kept the names. The room. They were very adamant. We're going from the conservatory, the secret passage, to the study. Just those things. Most adaptations will right off the bat be like, okay, well, some of this stuff is silly because it's a board game, so this is gone, this is gone, this is gone. How do we make this real? And they kind of did that a little bit with it's code names because they're all being blackmailed. But it was good the way they did it. And gave it a little bit more story, added a couple more characters, a few more people dying, and it's a classic. Again, a movie that we quoted to each other, constantly, and I'm going home to sleep with my wife.
Sleep with my wife.
Just so many great lines like that where it's just well done.
It's one for me I didn't see until much later in life, so I do not have the fondness that you guys have for it. It is an enjoyable movie. But it's one of those ones that it hit at a certain time, because I came to it so late, that just does not quite land for me. I think the way it does for you guys. I don't dislike it. I don't have any complaints. It's just, I watched it again before filming tonight, And yeah, it just I don't know, the whole thing where they're skittering back and going through all the things, and I forgot about the multiple endings, and like, I know it's only an hour and a half, but there were times where I'm like, oh, come on, let's get to the end.
See, I watched it again today, and I felt like it just flew through it. Like, before I knew it, I'm like, oh, we're already we're solving it, right? Because, and I get in the game, you don't literally go like we did this, but you go, it's kind of that thing with the guesses the whole way through the game and everything. Like it's that kind of thing where it's like I appreciate that they did that.
It's weird because I love the movie Oscar with Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, so good.
But Clue feels like it should be a stage play.
It easily could. Yeah.
That's my other favorite movie of this type, Arsenic and Old Lace. If you ever saw that one or not, it's the same deal. It's literally, here's one location, and it's all within this location. Let's have the story play out. And I love how within the confines of the movie and the story they're telling, it does at one point or another becomes them against the world, with worrying about who's going to find out of what we're doing, trying to figure out what happened here. But then, like, you have the guy whose car breaks down, and he's coming in and, hey, can I call somebody because my car broke down on the road? And then they manage to get him into one of the rooms without a body in it, and then they get him knocked out, and he's taken out. And I love the cop, because that was a whole thing where then all of a sudden they have to play it up like, oh, they're having a party. And all these dead bodies that are they're making out with them, trying to make it look like, oh, they're just having a good. And I love that. There's nothing wrong with this. There isn't. No, these are just people having a good time. They are. It's just how that whole thing played out, and like, even to get him out of the room, I'm gonna get you an accessory for this, and stopping an officer in his duty and murder. Yeah,
they open the door. I was just trying to get your attention.
What about murder? I just said that so you'd open the door.
And the poor telegram girl, she's like, here's your singing telegram.
I am your singing telegram. Bang.
God, so
but I agree with you when she does the whole, like, flames on the side of my head. Like that, and Tim Curry being Tim Curry is fantastic.
Apparently she ad-libbed that, and so the reactions from the rest of the cast were like they didn't know what she was trying to say either, which is why it looks so genuine to see them all looking at each other like, what is she trying to tell us?
I know it was years later, but it reminds me of the scene in Hook when is it Smee? Or is it Hook that says, like, I've just had an apostrophe. You mean epiphany? Yeah, lightning has just struck my brain. Like, it has that kind of energy to it.
It's interesting you say that about it, like being a play, though. My kids wanted me to mention my twins they just finished their junior year. They're getting ready to go into their senior year, and they're big into theater, and that's their first play next year is Clue. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so
cool.
they're doing,
really?
Yeah. So they're really excited, and they're getting ready for that. And so they'll have to do like all the different room settings and stuff, and bring in the different props and everything. So they're pretty excited for it. So we watched that as a family for this show, so that they can kind of see that again, because they had already seen it before. But yeah, they are getting ready to put that on as a play at school. So
that makes me so happy, because it is one of those movies where it was made as a movie, but it would be really cool to watch it as a play and watch how it all would work out that way too. So I love that they're doing that.
And they even have like the different endings and stuff. Like,
oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah, depending on what night you go to. You know?
Yeah.
So we already know Jesse obviously didn't. I'm too young to, but did either of you old men see it in theaters with a single ending ever?
I don't remember seeing it in theaters. I think I remember seeing it like on HBO. Every time I've seen it, I think I remember seeing all the different endings.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I got to see it at a buddy's house. We were visiting, and they just did like a movie night that night. Right. And they rented Crocodile Dundee and Clue. So back to back, I got to watch both movies. Yeah. and Clue ended up being the second one of the night. And if I remember right, it had all 3 endings.
Yeah,
and,
the VHS
and my
did.
mom saw it and was geeking out about that. Yeah.
I do have to say though, for anybody that did like this movie, got to go back to something Jesse was saying earlier. Oscar, like,
yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
so freaking good. Like it is.
it's
As much as I like this movie, Oscar is so much better, and it's the similar kind of like storytelling from different angles. So you're seeing the same time period, like, but from different angles and stuff, and then it all comes together at the end, and yeah, so good.
Yeah. Stallone plays a mob gangster. I think it's in Chicago, and he's trying to go straight. So he's got like a meeting with the bank, and then there's the other family. So it's like it's this goofy kind of whole scenario, but it's got great. And the reason I say Clue makes me feel like a play is just the way they act and the way the scene, like, it doesn't feel.
Oh, it totally is. Yeah.
Most of it doesn't feel cinematic. Like I don't mean that as an insult. It feels more like that kind of a little bit of that overacting that you have to do on a stage to project and all that stuff. So it just feels like that style of acting. And when Sean, when you said that this was the same year as Back to the Future, I had to look that up because I knew it was the 80s. Yeah. Christopher Lloyd looks so old in Back to the Future.
That's on purpose.
I know, but like that's what I saw first. Like I didn't see Clue until like 15 years later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, it was literally 85 was I think Clue came out first and then Back to the Future, but I'd have to look that one up.
I don't think so, because Clue was December of 85. So.
All right, so then Back to the Future was first, but then you still got Christopher Lloyd in that.
Oh.
And what's funny to me is the beginning of the movie, it starts in 1954. Back to the Future is 55. There's a part of me in my mind that then goes, I honestly want to believe that, because we don't know Professor Plum's real name.
I think
maybe it is Doc Emmett Brown, and he went back to the family estate back in 55 and met Marty. It's like my head just went there, and I'm like, I'm happy with that being my movie universe. I'm good.
Because isn't he working on like some sort of, like in the Clue movie? Didn't they say he was working on some sort of nuclear project or something?
He was working on a top secret government experiment or whatever. Yeah,
could be.
So it's like there's a part of me that's like, I just love playing with that and going, and then
would explain how he would have access to
plutonium. Yeah.
No, the Iranians or whatever they were.
Yeah. He got the plutonium from them.
Yeah, but like it's like working with the government, he might know
exactly.
Like like.
But it's just I know
I've never put that together, but that's cool.
Connecting them.
I like that.
But when I realized it was the year before that, I'm like, I want to believe.
And it's
I
funny
like
because
that way better than Dooch's stupid iocane sniffing.
I was gonna say I was gonna guess that it was like the 54 was the year the first Clue board game came out, but it was actually 49 when the first Clue game came out. So yeah, it's interesting that they chose 54. And I was gonna say, but Billy said it as well. Like not only the acting, Jesse, but like the limited sets. You're in the mansion. You know, you're moving around the same sets, and it's the ensemble. Like you notice when people aren't there because they're not supposed to be. It's not like in a movie where you do your scene and you move on. Like everybody's constantly moving in and out, reacting, and there's not a lot of like big close-ups. They're always kind of getting the scene, so you can like the game, like you're trying to track who's there, who's not, who's reacting how, and that. Yeah, it definitely lends to that Broadway feel. And Billy says that he did see it on TV with only one ending. I'm with you guys. Every time I've seen it, TV, VHS, DVD, it's always done the, blah, 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 ABC.
So, Dooch.
Hold on.
Nope, okay. Jesse.
This is real quick, just because it doesn't tie into Clue, but it ties into the Clue being connected to Back to the Future.
Okay.
Is a theory I heard recently. I'll keep it short. Is that Sean Connery's character in The Rock is James Bond?
Yeah.
I had never heard that until this week, and because James Bond gets arrested in like 66
Mhm.
or 65, and he's gone for like 6 or 7 months.
Mhm.
And then like the next movie in that time frame for Bond was
They
like
changed.
6-7 months later. And in The Rock, that's when
Yep.
his character is in prison and escapes
Yep.
from Alcatraz. And I was just like, and like there was a couple other things that lined up. So I just
Yeah.
thought that was really
That's interesting.
a fun little thing. I mean,
love-
clearly whoever wrote The Rock, you know, could have just intentionally tried to make that work, you know.
Right.
Mhm.
But I just thought that was a fun little thing that
I love
that's
that kind
why
of
he's
stuff.
so good. Except they did ruin it where the scene where they're breaking in and he rolls through the furnace and like the death maze in
The
Galaxy
Death
Quest.
Furnace. Yeah.
He gets out and he goes through the door and he lets Nicolas Cage in. And
Yeah.
the person was like, if he was escaping, he could have just gone out the door. He wouldn't have had to roll through
Mhm.
the furnace if he could have just walked out the door since it was locked.
I
on their
think I
side.
know where you've heard this because I'm listening to a podcast and they said the same thing, and I'm like, that messed with my mind. But yeah, I never noticed that part.
So, Dooch,
What's up, buddy?
you're up.
I'm
on,
up.
on Have You Ever?
Have you
Have
ever?
you ever?
Yep.
Well, all right. I guess
Have
I
you
got to
ever?
throw something out here then. Have you ever spent time in a Turkish prison? No.
You ever seen the rain?
Have you ever showered with a naked man?
Of course.
Have you ever watched gladiator movies, Billy?
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
So many have you ever's. But what we're going with today, have you ever watched Powerless? And I know we've talked about, or maybe me and Sean talked about this privately, but it was I think NBC sitcom set in the DC universe following a group of people working for Wayne Tech who have no powers, but they have to come up with inventions and gadgets to help fight evil. So it was I think one season, maybe 12 episodes total. I have been seeing a lot of plugs for it through, well, it's now The Max, formerly HBO Max. So I kind of have a feeling they're testing the waters to see if they want to revisit this. But
So it's available on the one season's available on Max now.
yes,
Okay.
or maybe it was the CW app.
Okay.
One of the apps. If it's not Max, it was on CW, which is a free app.
Okay.
But yeah, it's out there. Alan Tudyk stars as the like manager, and he's Bruce Wayne's cousin.
Vanessa Hudgens is in that too.
I think so. Yeah, it's a good cast. It was a fun show. I enjoyed. So, have any of you guys ever watched it?
I have not.
I have.
I know I've seen a
but-
couple of episodes.
Yeah, I don't know if I finished the entire first season, but I definitely started watching it.
Yeah.
I just can't remember if I finished that first season, but it's been long enough that I would need to go back and rewatch it.
All right. There you go. Have you ever watched Powerless?
Okay. That is on deck for the next one, which would be, for those of you with your calendars out, June 9th would be our next numbered show. We will have a off week next week on the second off week unscripted. No Dooch Agenda, but we will come back and talk about Have You Ever on the 9th.
Yes, absolutely. So check it out if you guys haven't, so you can talk with us.
And there's only one thing left on the Dooch Agenda.
Well, before we do that, just real quick, I do want to plug Matthew Rodriguez here right quick.
Never heard of him.
Before we lose everybody. Yes, you have. He does still have his Armies of Ashmore on Kickstarter. If I can click buttons and talk at the same time, it's hard sometimes.
I saw a post from him the other day. Didn't he say he wanted everybody to cancel their orders or something like that?
No.
Oh.
No. It is funded, guys. So these toys are funded. It's coming to us. He's currently at $111,707. We're getting Dino toys. I'm so happy, so proud of Matthew, all the work he and CJ and Andrew, I saw Len still cranking out a bunch of work for him. Steve's currently painting up some stuff for him to show off. in the meantime, while the factory's working out their stuff. But it is a go.
Eric Miller has those weapons pack that he
The
painted up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I wonder if those are on the main page here. But yeah,
They
definitely
said it was
check it out.
available now. I haven't seen it, but they said that that's going to be for sale.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think he updated the. Yeah, there's in the updates. Yeah, Eric Miller did some custom. Yeah, here it is. Did some custom colors on a weapons pack set, and Matt went ahead and put that into production. Just amazing stuff. These figures are awesome. If you guys are on the fence about it, waiting to see if it's funded, it's there. These are coming. This is your only chance to get them at the lowest price. The weapons packs, we've got the Kickstarter exclusive Caspar figure that's been unlocked. And Matt has said that's it. Like the Kickstarter exclusive stuff is going to be Kickstarter exclusive. You're not going to get them later. So
they haven't unlocked the translucent one yet, though, right?
Nope. That one's still locked up. So maybe if we get a good push here, we got 8 days left. Maybe we can get him unlocked too. There's going to be exclusive packaging. He did reveal some concept art for the packaging. Jump over to the Facebook Defenders of Eden toy group to check that out. But
it's got the diorama side panels where all the boxes. I love that.
No, I'm not going to be able to throw them out. Oh,
I didn't see that. Is that on the Kickstarter?
No, it's on the Facebook.
It was on his Facebook post. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was some CJ mocked them up.
Yeah, so the side panel will have like Cyros and Vasipo and Milwick and all in battle, but then you can put them together and it'll form a whole scene when you put all 5 boxes next to each other.
Pull that up or no?
I'd save it for the Facebook group people.
Yeah, go to the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Join the Facebook group. It's free.
It's free. Go check it out.
It's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah. Check it out. Support it. We're getting the figures. You might as well get them at the lowest price possible and get all the exclusives. Buy 2 of each exclusive, and you can flip one later on.
Now, I did see a post from Matt this week he was basically congratulating people that didn't give in to peer pressure and watch Game of Thrones, even with all the hype and stuff. And and then I saw
he can be such a douche sometimes.
Yeah, and then I saw Pete McCarthy said that people shouldn't give into the hype on this Dino line, and shouldn't give into the peer pressure. So,
and they should wait 6 years till it's no longer relevant.
Yeah, so make of that what you will, guys. If you wanna buy into the hype, and get these dinos, go ahead and do it. But
I do.
I do.
Yeah,
they're awesome.
I know. I got to still add on my Caspar. I haven't added him on yet.
Oh, I did that the day it was unlocked. I was really happy about that.
So, lightning round?
Roll for initiative.
What is this?
I think he's twitching.
I got a 10.
At 10? All right.
I have a +4 proficiency or initiative bonus.
All right. The hairs on your back stand up a little bit, but it lands right next to you instead.
The money hair on the back of my neck's going woo, woo, woo.
Woo, woo. Lightning round. All right. Here we go, guys.
It's another great Tim Curry movie. Congo.
This one is courtesy of Curtis Ackerman. Favorite potato chip flavor?
Am I going first?
Sean, go first.
Sour cream and onion.
Interesting. Skull man. Curtis.
I'm gonna go a kettle baked barbecue.
Oh. Jesse.
Ditto. Kettle cooked barbecue.
You guys are gonna be sharing a bag at Legion's Con. I gotta go cheddar sour cream. It is just I can eat cheddar sour cream any day of the week. It's awesome.
Cool.
So good. I actually don't care
ridges.
I prefer
Pizza.
the Ruffles. Yes, the Ruffles are slightly better than the regular Lay's.
Billy, go back to Master of the Thunder Nerds.
That's a Pringle, not a.
Pringles don't count. They're not.
Pringles are not potato chips. Can we all agree on that?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, they're crisps, and I don't mean the British kind.
I actually don't care for kettle cooked. They're a little too crunchy. I do prefer the baked though. Baked chips are really good.
Okay.
They're not really chips either.
I only like the kettle chips when they're barbecue, but man, a kettle barbecue chip, yeah, hell yeah.
And now he's bringing combos. Who invited this guy in?
Yeah, combos are definitely not
combos.
Chips.
Get out!
I love pizza combos, but that is not a potato chip,
right?
Yeah.
In any stretch of the imagination.
No,
exactly.
It's a pretzel or a cracker.
All right. If you were an action figure, what 2 accessories would you be packaged with? Same order.
Oh Jesus. Some sort of a sword, just because I always loved swords, even though I have no proficiency in swords. And an iPhone or a iPad of some sort, so I could draw as well.
There you go.
Question.
Yeah.
Is this items we think that our character should have because of who we are, or that we would just want to have?
Yes. You're in charge of making your action figure. You do your accessories.
Okay.
I'm going to say some form of chained weapon. So it's got a chain and some sort of thing on the end, hook, a spear, something, but a chained weapon. And then probably a jetpack. That would be what I'd go with.
Not a lawnmower?
No.
Oh, okay. Just curious.
I don't know. A book, like a big old dusty tome book, and a satchel, like a Chewbacca duffel bag satchel thing.
I like it. I like it.
It's the most boring action figure I've ever heard in my life.
I picked blocks as my top 3 forgotten toy lines.
Out of our weight, he'd be the educational toy of us, and that's okay. We need that
no,
too.
it's my sketchbook or writing journal. I'm not teaching anybody with that.
Book and a satchel. Okay.
Oh. For me, I would definitely have to have a laptop with one button to push.
like Groot. Like maybe there's 2 buttons, but one's taped over.
That's right.
Welcome to OffWorld. Welcome to OffWorld.
And then for the other one, I actually had sword as well, Sean, just because I need a badass weapon, because I am an action figure, even if I just press buttons. So.
There you go.
I'm not changing anything, but I'm just saying. My first thought was lightsaber, but I'm like, there's tons of lightsabers out there. You can just put a lightsaber in my hand. But
so I gotta buy aftermarket. So I gotta buy the Jesse action figure. Then I gotta buy an aftermarket lightsaber.
I'm just saying.
Oh my God.
Jesse's character is so bad that he's already adding fodder to it.
I gotta get Len LaGuardia to print me up
with my figure. What are 2 things that aren't packaged a lot? Books and a satchel. I've got a whole bin full of swords.
My character's gonna have a book and a satchel, and since that's gonna suck, I'm gonna steal all these other things from other lines.
I do love your book and satchel, though. Don't get me wrong, Jesse. I love the book and satchel. And I agree with you. It's hard to find that kind of stuff.
I'm actually shocked that Jesse's wasn't a fuzz monk with him, though.
I actually thought about the 2, having action figures with my action figures.
Yeah, like a little fuzz, even the PVC version where maybe it's not articulated, but he can be your buddy.
My first real thought was, a 2-pack with Rogue, but
wow, all right.
You said accessory.
That was actually the we weren't recording yet, but when they had the Father Christmas for the figure Obscura, did you know there's a figure Obscura Cabal?
There is.
That was actually my guess for what was inside the sack. I thought it was going to be like a Sura Wayne or whatever, like a Mythic Legions action figure for your Mythic Legions. Like I think that would have been really cool.
That would have been cool.
But sadly, it was just helmets.
Why do I need an old school writing desk?
Why don't you?
Because your action figure is a fucking nerd.
So am I. Actually,
It belongs in a museum. So do you.
All right, last lightning round question.
All right.
If you had to live with one TV family, would it be? Will you listen? I have choices this time, so it's not.
Come on, don't give us choices.
Yes,
All
I'm
right.
trying to make it easier on you guys. You already groaned at the last one.
You're not growing, and I'm thinking.
All right.
Yeah, I was just about to think of the family. So okay.
The Seavers from Growing Pains or the Keatons from Family Ties.
Why are you giving us choices? Why can't we just pick one?
Because it pisses you off.
It does.
That's me, right? For the first one. Seavers.
Curtis? I have a feeling he's going to throw out his own choice anyways, because that's the kind of guy he is.
I'm going to pick the Cosbys.
Was that willingly, or Bill gave you a drink and you woke up in the Huxtable house?
I was going to say you don't want to sleep in that house.
Oh, no? Oh,
I just like the dynamic of the Cosby family. Like, all Bill Cosby jokes aside, but that show, I like the dynamic of that family. So I'm going to pick that one.
Because they were rich.
He was a doctor.
Yeah.
He was a doctor, and she was a lawyer?
Lawyer, I think, yeah.
They had a brownstone in, what was that, New York City?
Yeah.
Chicago?
Yeah. I think they were New York.
He married the right person for what he did later in life. He at least had her on a retainer. Just saying.
Which one was Alan Thicke? Growing Pains?
Yes.
Yeah, the Seavers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll go with the Seavers.
Same here. God, Alan Thicke is my dad. Absolutely.
Boring.
Kirk Cameron as my brother. Yes. Please.
Boring. There's so many better TV families. I don't know why you chose those two.
No, I'm gonna pick the other family then, because Ashley Johnson eventually gets brought in as the youngest sister, and I don't want her to be my sister.
Well,
okay, I see where you're going. I like it.
I don't know.
It's Family Ties, because wasn't Justine Bateman on that show?
She was brought in on Growing Pains. Yeah.
Oh, right. Growing Pains?
Right. So he wants to be a part of the Family Ties family, so he still has a chance with the Growing Pains family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason I gave choices was actually so I could reuse this later with other choices.
Actually,
trying to make my life easier, but don't worry about it.
My family that I would choose, I'd change my mind. It would be the mom and dad from Malcolm in the Middle. I'd want them as my parents.
That's a fun one too.
Yeah.
Curtis makes choices by not picking choices that were presented.
That's one I can't
use. Because the choices he gave us were crap. I gotta have some more fun. That family is pretty. That's a fun family. The Malcolm in the Middle family. I would fit right in with them. Like I wouldn't have to adjust at all.
The two that I would be completely cool with either way, it probably would be either the Munsters or the Addams Family.
Ooh.
Because you'd never be bored in either one of those houses at all. There'd always be something crazy happening, and you'd be like, "That's awesome." No, my family would never do that. That's awesome.
Billy's right. The Alf family is better than the Seavers.
I'd want to be the youngest. I'd want to be the youngest kid in the McAllister family. I know it's a movie, not a show, because they leave you alone at home, and
sounds awesome.
That sounds great.
And they go to France and New York, and
cool. Just forget I exist.
Bye. And let's just throw them all out that way, because I'm obviously never using this question again. This is what I meant to do. The Bundys for Married with Children.
That's little too dysfunctional for my taste.
Yeah,
I think Malcolm in the Middle is like the right amount of dysfunctional. So,
and I'd still like to have a chance with both of the females in that family. So I'm on the Jesse thing. So
Billy's drunk at this point, right?
Isn't he? Oh, is he ever not drunk? Like I think every interaction I've had with Billy, he's like, toasted on goblin wine.
Yeah.
And Kevin agrees with me. He also thought the mini action figure accessory was
That would have been cool. I mean, he technically did come with a toy soldier and a duck and a dog. So I mean, he did come with toy action figures.
But he didn't come with a Mythic Legion.
But he didn't say Mythic Legion. He just said mini action figure.
True. I assumed he was agreeing with me, though. I guess. Anything you want to get off your chest before we say goodbye to these fine folks in the chat?
I hate watches.
I love my smartwatch.
Hey,
smartwatch
smartwatch as well.
Yeah, I know.
We're twin brothers.
We are. That's why we despise each other.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys.
And what's a vanillan AF?
Vanilla as fuck, I think, but he messed up how to write that part.
Because he's drunk.
Because I was like, is that like a
vanilla
vanilla villain?
That's
like,
what I was gonna say, like vanilla.
I haven't
I'm
seen
perfectly
Alf in
soberish, he says.
a long time. I would imagine that probably doesn't hold up very well.
I can't imagine.
No, I did not own a Swatch.
And from what I hear, everybody on Alf hated being on Alf. Like, apparently it's the worst show to be on it. So.
Okay, let me ask you this then, Jesse. 2 watches that you had to have one of these 2 growing up.
Did I?
I would imagine so. Everybody did. Either the calculator watch.
Nope.
Or the watch that turned into a transformer. You had neither one of those 2?
I had that one. Yeah.
I had
Even
a watch
the
from McDonald's.
Okay.
I tried it on once when I went to school. I hated it and threw it away. I did have the Ninja Turtle watch that like flipped open, but I threw the strap
it
away.
was like a communicator.
And I just carried it around like it was a communicator because it was never, the time was never right.
That's awesome. Dude, you have any special watches growing up?
The one that sticks in my mind is I had a Darkwing Duck one where it was him and then his cape like flipped open. So
nice.
That's the one that I remember to this day.
He's not wearing pants, so guess what that means.
Hell yeah.
It's just like almost every other Disney character.
Darkwing Dong.
Or every other duck character, I should say.
Darkwing Dong.
Let's get
I've seen that movie too.
Have you ever seen the Zay Frank True Facts About Ducks video?
No.
Did you know ducks have exploding penises?
Okay.
Excuse me. Exploding corkscrew penises.
Well, yeah, if you're going to explode, you got to corkscrew one.
I am not even kidding.
Yeah.
And why didn't you say that for your have you ever?
Yeah, there's nothing you're gonna say here that's gonna make us Google exploding corkscrew duck penis.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
Speak for yourself. I know exactly what I'm Googling when we're done here. All right, guys.
Wait.
Thanks for tuning in. Say goodnight, everybody.
No.
wait.
Hold on.
We're not saying goodnight.
I do like that it's the point of the night where it's gotten so dark in Sean's house that he just looks like the floating head again.
Oh, yeah. He keeps wearing the black shirt on purpose. What did we say that genie's name was from?
Jambi.
Yeah, Jambi.
Yeah.
Well, Discover Magazine has a big write-up about that exploding duck dick. So yeah, something.
Well, you got one person.
I just put the link. I just put the link in the comment. True facts about animals.
It's educational.
Okay.
It's one of the best docuseries on animals ever.
This is why
I'm
he
being
has a book
100%
and satchel.
Sean, I've made Sean watch some of these. They're hilarious. At least I think I made you watch some of these.
All right.
You
There
made
you
me
go,
watch the
folks.
Bell videos, but
There you
You
go.
will
There we
laugh
go.
your ass off and be horrified by the wonders of nature.
well, I
The
laughed
marsupials
my-
one is really good too.
You and I binged that damn Sprake challenge, and I laughed my ass
I
off
showed
to
that to
see
people at
nature
work
on that
yesterday.
too. Some of the girls on there looking really hot, and all of a sudden they sound like they literally are like channeling Satan. Is awesome.
Oh, my tummy hurts.
Have you ever wanted to see a girl do an impression of Hooch from Turner and Hooch while she sounds like Satan? It's amazing.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Please make sure to click the like, hit the subscribe. Go ahead and share this around to all your friends and check out Jesse's link. I know I will be.
Hit that bell.
Hit that bell. Yeah.
We're going to pull it up in the chat before we go.
We're gonna
Explosive
guys all
sex
want.
life of a duck. 1.3
Like,
million
when
views.
we end the show, I'm going to pull it up in here. You guys will watch it.
Well, can I end the show then?
Yeah.
We probably should end on the intro again because it's so awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's what
And
I'm trying to get
afterwards, Jesse apparently is going to pull it out on the stream or something. I don't know.
I'm not. The duck is.
to. All right, everyone, say good night.
Good night, Jesse.
Good night, everyone.
Okay.
Until next time, guys. Check out this sweet ass intro.
Laredo, take us out.
Take her out.
Every Friday night, join the fun and let's go off-world. Geek out with us live, where the nerdiness will thrive. Buckle up and let's go off-world. Toys, comics, pop culture.